Why do you think they're called bosses?
Because they'll own you. I don't know. I have no idea.
This is the Imperial Scrolls of Honor podcast. I'm Josh Folan.
And I am Jay Baxtron.
And we're going to be bullshit about the formative years of console gaming as we revisit the periodicals that covered it again. It's fitting that I fuck up the revisit there. That's a nice throwback moment, actually. We'll leave it. Today we are taking down the entire NES establishment in Team Bobo's, Team Bobo's 2012 release of Abobo's Big Adventure, a kinda-sorta Nintendo Entertainment System architecture developed tribute to the legendary console. We are devoid of any literature of antiquity for this beloved game development achievement, but what a cool-ass art project it would be for someone to create a Nintendo Power-style themed game feature, like level-by-level screenshot maps, weapon and enemy breakdowns, etc., etc. So, any of you retro artists out there, maybe our key art designer might want to fucking take a crack at that. That would be a really cool visual, I think.
Heck yeah.
Emulation disclosure. There isn't one. I play the downloadable Flash version of the game on my PC with the OG NES gamepad as the developers instructed, and a download link for that is obviously in the show notes. Jay had to do the same thing, although much to his malign, we won't get into that negativity this early in the podcast. Please rate and review the pod if you like anything that we've done over the last 100 episodes of this motherfucker, 100 plus counting the side quests, which is very cool that we've managed to keep our lives going, let alone the podcast that long. So, as we always do about this time, what are we jamming on now, Jay? What are you jamming on now, besides a lot of Abobo, I am sure?
Oh, man. Very, very few things. You know, doing some Call of Duty Zombies every now and then, picking up some new unlocks there, which is always fun with the crew. And then Courtney and I actually finished It Takes Two, which was great. You know, very good co-op, good story, had us both balling at the end, you know, family, you know, married couple coming back together kind of thing. So highly recommend that to play with a friend or somebody close to you when you get a chance. And then the only other game that I've spent any time playing, honestly, has been Disney Dreamlight Valley. I love my shooter games, my first-person shooters. I love my PvP, jumping into COD, Halo, all those kind of games. But every now and then, I need to take a pause, Josh, and play a little coziness, a little less stress kind of a game. And so there's tons of cozy games out there where you can just, you know, you're making food, you're building a house, you're just talking to friends, kind of a la Animal Crossing. And this is kind of like that to me. This is like an Animal Crossing set in the Disney world. And so the story is kind of fun, like it has a fun background story. You're not just dropped there randomly meeting people. So you have to have some magical quests to do that you follow as you meet people. And it has the whole daily maintenance things, becoming friends with people and the different characters. And so, you know, I didn't think this would be my jam. Courtney's played this extensively in the past, and so I was just looking for a little calm, cozy.
You weren't heavy into Animal Crossing when that hit in COVID.
Yeah, I mean, I played it for a little bit, you know, just to, you know, for something different to do. And oddly enough, when I hear the Animal Crossing music now, it immediately nostalgically takes me back to 2020, like height of COVID, sure, just sitting at home playing that. But yeah, man, this game is actually really fun. It's really fun if you like cozy, if you love the Disney universe, interacting with those characters and having like a low stress affair. I highly recommend it. So that's
low stress affair.
Yeah. Not normally what I'm doing in my games, but when you come home, sometimes I'm not looking to destroy things. I just want to chill.
I just like the sound of that sentence.
Trademark, low stress affair.
Okay. That's it?
That's it, man. I've been, sprinkling a little time here and there, but it's not had enough playtime.
I don't feel like our listeners are going to trust that this wasn't a contrived effort to keep this a minimal endeavor. This what we're jamming on now thing, because I also did next to no gaming. I don't think I've touched my Quest.
Oh wow!
Since we last recorded,
dude.
It just between playing the shit out of this, willingly so, not even like in some dutiful way, and a few other little things that Amy and I have done with the point and click shit. Mm-hmm. Like it just hasn't been any gaming going on. But
I feel you, man. You know what? I actually, now that I mention it, I did pick up the Quest just to play a little more Starfield in that with the Starfield updates.
Okay.
Courtney's been sucked into that with all the updates, and so I like playing that in and outside of the quest. It's a different experience, so that's kind of been my only other time picking up the quest.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see what the advantage would be to playing it on a flat screen in the Quest headset.
Well, it's kind of like I don't know how often you've gone to those IMAX screens in the past where they have the big curved screen, which is like,
sure.
Huge, and you just feel more immersed in it. Like, I'm not, nobody's going to confuse this with an actual real VR experience. But like when you're in there, there's just something different about like it just feels more immersive that way.
Yeah, so, I understand that. Yeah. It's just to me, it's just like if I'm not getting that full, I guess I'm speaking. If you're saying it just immerses you more, that's the answer, I suppose. Yeah. But I try to like, as much as I love VR, like I don't have some like yearning for that thing to be in my head either. You know what I mean? It's just the experience of a VR game inside of it is so worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anything like a shortened or more abridged whatever of that seems like, I don't know if that's enough of a trade-off for me, but I haven't tried it, so I get it.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not saying I would go out and buy each piece of equipment just to have that experience, but if you already have Game Pass or you already have Starfield or one of those games, I mean, it'll definitely like give it, like even I played Forza Horizon in that. Same thing, like a racing game, which is already like the best racing game there is. You play it in there, it's much more like, whoa, like it just is it kind of gives you a different level.
Hear that. Well, we finished Paradigm, that point and click I mentioned last episode, and nice. It's fucking great, dude. I would put it right there with like as far as modern ones that I've played go, which isn't a ton when it comes to point and clicks in the modern context, but I would put it right there with Thumbleweed Park as the best modern I've played. Incredibly creative and fun. Just the writing, just all so clever and well done. Just I don't know, across the board, bravo. Like nothing negative to say about it at all. The developer, Jacob Janerka is his name, has a new game he's tooling on called The Dungeon Experience that looks equally as smart and fucking out there, wild. And I'll be all over that when it comes out. I was, finished that and I was like, what else has this guy done? And, he's got one that's pretty far along in development, I guess. So that's a cool, exciting thing coming down the pipe. And as soon as we finished, we're like, okay, what are we going to do now? We're in point and click mode. There's got to be something else. So we started looking around and we downloaded one called Nightmare Frames that it's a little more of a retro art style, like more kind of pixel oriented. The Paradigm was more of like, I mean, it was still, they tried to give it some dated feel, but it was a little more painting looking than this. Like this is like they're really playing up the pixelated aspect of it. Still looks good, but like they're small pixels, but they want you to see the pixels for sure.
Nice.
Anyways, that's the aesthetic and the, I don't know, like the story setting and vibe of it. It's like this noir kind of thing set in 1985 Los Angeles, and the protagonist is a screenwriter that's begrudgingly fell into writing for B horror flicks. And we didn't get very far that night, and we haven't gotten a chance to play it since. So I don't know if it's as good or what, but it had a very. It was more Thimbleweed Park in that regard. Of like it's just a more rooted story world. Paradigm was nuts sci-fi shit. This is much more grounded, but I'm sure just as quirky. I get the feeling so. Okay. TBD on that, but yeah, no VR really because of Abobo.
That is the Mission 1 theme from Double Dragon, bringing us into this 100th episode extravaganza. Josh.
This game. What the fuck is this game about? The story is very simple. Abobo's son, Abobo, he's called, has been kidnapped, and now it's up to you to help Abobo fight his way through some of the greatest NES games of all time in order to rescue him. And Team Bobo didn't write another pixel's worth of story copy in the manual file that accompanies the download, because who fucking needs it when the code you laid down is at this level, man? Like, they just don't, it doesn't matter. Just, you're a Bobo, go kill shit. You know, and like, just fucking ride the wave, basically. I want to hear your attempted explanation to put this game in a genre box.
Oh, sure. So the format here is a beat 'em up initially, then a variety of formats representative of the early NES time, you know, based on classics. That's all you can say. It's everything, really.
And they take you through all of them too. Like, there's some of the, you know, like the wrestling one. I just could not, because I didn't look up shit. I don't know if you looked up anything, but each level, the first time I played, each level was like a total surprise to me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, yeah, so some of them would start, and I'd just be like, holy fuck, I can't believe. I can't believe this is what's next. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, they take you through the whole fucking gamut, which is just.
I was completely thrown off, and we'll get to it. Like with the first couple changes, like going into Zelda World, I'm like, whoa. Oh my god! I thought it was going to be straight beat 'em up all the way through, and boy, was I wrong. Thankfully, wrong.
It's just. It is just such a beautiful piece of computer code. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
They dumped it out into the world on January 11th of 2012. And maybe that might be, of all the things about this game, and shit I'll have to say, the thing that floors me the most is that this has been fucking floating around for 12 years. And I haven't played it yet. You know,
I've never even heard of it until
I knew of it. I you know, that's why I brought it up, because I had heard of it, and I don't even remember what context it might have been, but there's just no way it was anything even vaguely negative, and I'm sure it was just full of praise, whatever context I might have found it in. And yeah, the fact that it did not incite me to fucking check it out until now, I am just so ashamed.
It's such a quality game, man. Like, honestly. So cool. This game, and obviously I'm previewing a bit when we get to the blessing part, but this, I kind of wish this was like playable on my system. Like I could just get it and just sit down on the couch, and I bet out there more, you know?
Yeah, I bet, you know, they can't sell it for obvious reasons because it's fucking whatever. But which is a crime, I think, that they should be able to. I mean, and you can donate. I did donate.
Yeah.
At the end,
I was going to ask if you donated because I considered
it for sure.
Well.
I immediately could not. I was like, yes, you win.
You earned this.
Yes, you 100% earned this. And like, the website doesn't stay up to date. It shows, unless so many people had donated when I finally looked, which seems unlikely this far into the game. But their website shows like the top 10 donors and the last 10 donors, and you know, I'm sure a lot of people have given them money. So I don't doubt that they have recouped at least some of their time and money, but it's not as much as it should be, because there is, you know, I don't care. I'll spoil the fucking end. This is the best thing that's ever happened to NES architecture. And I'll get into, if you want to argue that it's not NES architecture, we can have that argument too later. And I don't mean you specifically. I mean anyone. But yeah, it's the fucking greatest thing I've ever played in the NES vein. And you should, when you do something this great, I don't give a fuck what intellectual property is involved. You should be paid handsomely for it. But we'll get to that later. So, get into the cover art bullshit. There is no OG NES box art, but they do have some very cool artwork of Abobo on abobosbigadventure.com. The splash page was the image I had with behind me in the last segment. It's Abobo backlit. His eyes are lit red in the dark, covering his face, and behind him is this blood red cityscape, blood rain coming down at a 45-degree angle, and the dead husks of various NES characters he's presumably pummel-chooked piled about behind him. All of it is appropriately pixelated, also beautiful. And the main page of the site has a Bobo on the left, a Boboy on the right, then the box with all the body text in it for each page, like the body text of each page, has come to rest on the dead, bloody, crushed bodies of 3 characters. Jeffy from Double Dragon, the old man from the Legend of Zelda Caves, and lastly, Jaws. So, just some cool, mild previews to some of the boss battling you'll do in the game itself. All very well done. But yeah, you know, I'll say it here for the manual too. I'm surprised that no one's made like a perfect NES box rendition of this, at least that I could find. Maybe they have.
Yeah.
But yeah, same thing with the manual. There's no proper one, but it would be a great art project. And man, I would anyone who knows of any of these things I say I don't know do exist, if you know them to exist, please God send them to us so we can both enjoy them and pump them out to show everyone how fucking cool it is, because I'm sure they would be.
Exactly.
Yeah, there is a 7,297 character text file that accompanies the Flash executable when you download, and there's plenty of fun shit to read in here. There is a short hint section at the end, mention of an unlockable 2-player mode, which, did you know about that?
Oh, I did not know about that.
Yes, you can unlock a 2-player mode. I believe it's Contra. I actually didn't try it out, I think you can do the Contra level in 2-player mode, which is fucking incredible, of course. And there is some more unlockable content and a special illustrated Abobo poster. Those unlockables generate a download link too. And the poster is fucking awesome. It's Abobo real big in the middle, and he's surrounded by every NES game character ever, roundabouts. It's like a really beautiful image I posted on the socials, of course. Very cool. And notable history and Game Genie codes that didn't make me feel like I was cheating. Jay, why would you want to Game Genie this masterpiece?
I have no idea.
About that.
I have no idea. Thankfully, there are no Game Genie codes, so there was no point to even go down that road. I mean, history-wise...
You did text, though, at one point. I wish there were save states, so I could...
I did, particularly on the stupid balloon stage, which, after trying again like twice, then it was easy to me. But like at first, it was a struggle. But yeah, like other than that, I mean... I will say, there are some stages we will get to, the wrestling stage, which, depending on how you play it, they can be very tough. Like, they can be very tough. But, at the same time, no need at all.
Yeah. They are, and it's funny, the ones you're, Balloon Fight, Pro Wrestling, these are ones that we didn't play as much, I would bet. You know what I mean?
Oh, I definitely did not play Balloon Fight the game.
Right, exactly. So, I think, and I will say this so many fucking times over the course of this recording, they didn't just capture the games and the, just the functional things that they're trying to emulate. They captured the emotion of it. They captured the built-up, acquired NES vernacular that you pick up as a lifetime NES fan and player. They captured all of it. They, all the little things, the little glitches and cheeses, like all that shit's there. They didn't lose any of that. And there's so much about this that requires that the person making it had to have been us.
Yes.
Had to have been an NES player. Had to have lived through that time. Had to have been a kid that had all those same experiences that all the big NES heads had. Like it's all there. They did. It's there's just so many things that you couldn't even someone couldn't just sit down and play these games in the present and glean and think to put into these.
My children couldn't play this game and enjoy it. They'd just be like, okay. Like, oh, I recognize that game from some...
They might enjoy it, but not... They're
not going to get all the things, all the references.
They wouldn't pick out all the little things because they're all fucking here. And it's just such a beautiful fucking job of that.
Exactly.
It's so fucking good. So good. But in turn, those games that with less pattern movement on, Balloon Fight, Pro Wrestling, what have you, I think are a little tougher, because you just don't have the fucking, you just don't have the muscle memory for it.
And I loved wrestling, like Pro Wrestling, the game.
Yeah, I play it.
But there were much better ones, Right,
and
I kind of lost the tricks and
I was looking around for something. Pro Wrestling, and there's a lot of chatter out there that Pro Wrestling's the best NES wrestling title, which it's up there. It's a top 3 for me, even. Yeah. But I mean, I like that. We talked like the Tecmo one. I think is a little more fun, a little cooler. I think it's debatable, but there's plenty of people out there.
Well, I love some NES and some later wrestling games which are not even comparable. But like NES, don't get me wrong, I love that. I hated the Amazon as a character, despite what other people liked him, I hated him. But so seeing him here was like, I'm gonna fuck you up.
That's great, fucking great. Okay, well, lunch room table tip eavesdrops. None of my homies had any intel on this at lunch on Friday, but it didn't bum me out at all because Friday, Jay, is pizza day. And I am ashamed, but I did not have time. I was scrambling up into literally seconds before we started recording to finish my notes here because there's just so much. So I didn't do an economic analysis, and I'm terribly sorry, Loric Disciples, that shit podcast host.
That is okay. We have some interesting. I did find a bit of notable history, kind of going through some things, though. So, the funny thing is, going through this, clearly we both love the game. I mean, if you're listening this far, like it's clear. There's no question with that. They actually tried to get the rights to make an Abobo SNES sequel. Did you know about that?
No, I did not. That is fucking amazing. I was wondering, 14 years. I'm like, how? Yeah, it's because they can't make any money. They knew how much work went into it. Exactly. That's why they haven't fucking done anything else. But yeah, anything else, period. Like, I feel like you don't need the IP. They clearly have the chops, coding-wise, to make cool shit. I understand it's harder to think of interesting, fun things. And certainly they're not going to catch fire like this, I'm sure, did and has.
Just anytime, yeah.
But yeah, that's fucking awesome to hear. I'm surprised, again, because here's the thing. I guess, I don't know the league. That's an interesting legality thing that I would wonder.
Well, let's talk about the legality. So, as an example, the creative director of Double Dragon reached out to them and said he loved the game. And so they've never received a takedown notice. So that was like the big thing, like all these NES properties, like you haven't received a takedown notice. And I think that was like a big reason they talked about that they have not. And they were like really grateful for that. And so I think that's also why when they reached out to try to get the rights to the SNES sequel, like this was years ago, they were having to fax people overseas. And it was like, they said as exhausting as the process of making the game was, even though they loved it, like it was exhausting even trying to get that stuff. So they're like, yeah, maybe in the future we'll try again. It might be a lot easier now, but they're all busy with other projects, which to your point makes sense. Like, hey, let's make some money on some other things that we know.
Sure, now that we have an audience, for sure, man. Yeah, there's no way you could, especially to do it, like, it would be the worst thing in the universe to not be able to pay the same level of attention and detail have you to it. So, if you can't do it right, don't just fucking better off let this be your legacy on this particular front anyways, this NES shit. Yeah, but what I was going to say was like I don't know, I'm trying to think of how to fucking word it. Like, if you were to, it's like they're taking donations, so they're still getting money from this,
Right.
So that, I mean, it's just a button. It's a button you click. It's not any different, really. I would think legally, money's coming in. Yes, you're not demanding it up front. There must be some sort of loophole there because otherwise, like you say, like Double Dragon's developer, like Nintendo. Nintendo has IP in here, native IP, and. Obviously, everyone knows it's
surprising that they haven't got.
Yeah, I just don't understand how if there was any way to connect them monetizing this legally, that there wouldn't have been some Nintendo legal action that made this go away. You know what I mean? So what I'm getting at is I wonder if there's a way on the same legal basis to attract the money to spend the time and effort. To make the SNES one or some other like property, and it not be considered like selling it. You know what I mean? In the same way that this isn't. So I that's a really interesting legal fucking thing that I'd be curious if this one can work. Why that couldn't? I guess
I'm sure there's a way. I wonder if they were just trying to obviously, to your point, get paid. Like, hey, we want to do it right, but. Yeah, I mean, I think the way legally...
Dude, nonprofits, motherfuckers, they get paid. It's just a different...
That's true.
Hey, Miyagi, shut the fuck up. I know it's the 100th episode, but who cares? You gotta chill out.
I mean, I think the way on their website that they kind of just really spelled it out, like, hey, this was meant to be the ultimate tribute to the NES is definitely... I think they did a lot of... It looks like they did their homework as far as that and how they could kind of get around that. But... to your point, like going forward would be a different situation.
Right, yeah. I guess maybe Nintendo was like, okay, this once.
Like we'll let it go.
Yes,
don't let us
even we'll admit this is fucking cool. We'll let it slide this once, but if you fuck around again, we're coming. Maybe it was that simple. Yeah. Who knows? That is the pro wrestling game theme, getting us into the actual playthrough of Abobo's Big Adventure. And we start with a title screen, or even actually before that, a kind of like a, because this is a Flash program, it's not an NES game. So it starts with like this splash page that I wonder if that's some kind of programming requisite. Like if it can't just get into a title, you know what I mean? Like I'm shocked. I guess what I'm saying is that they wouldn't try to emulate an NES game in every single way. You know, this has like this screen that comes up, and it's awesome pixel art of he's Abobo. He's standing in front of a TV. There's an NES control deck and controller sitting on top of it, and he's looking down at a few different images that appear on the screen in a loop. There is a Mrs. like Claus, like Santa Claus. Miss Claus with a bazooka on her shoulder, a kid staying in his bedroom with an NES and a CRT on one of those wheelie TV stands of the time, which is awesome little everything. Just there's so many fucking little moments that are just like, oh, that's just wonderful. But there's that. There's a couple of Star Wars looking characters in front of a scary house, which is a weird.
Yeah, kind of like in front of Maniac Mansion-y.
Right, like, exactly.
That's kind of what I got.
Yeah, like a weird theme mashup in that regard. And then, to me, that last one can't be anything but Uncle Rick from Rick and Morty with a fluorescent green test tube in his hand. I mean, would you?
I don't really know. I kind of took this as just, they couldn't. It's just meant to be like a scrolling mashup of like video game stuff. Like I couldn't tell who that was supposed to actually specifically be.
I mean, I'm a Rick
I didn't
and Morty
even take
fan.
that guess. I didn't even have that guess. So
do you watch Rick and Morty? Have we ever talked about that? Okay,
I've seen the show, but I don't watch it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've seen every episode. I'm pretty big into it, so easier connection for me, perhaps. But
gotcha.
In any event, you click anywhere on there at any time, and then the program will fire up, and a title and prologue cinematic that is every fucking thing it could have been, given the game's premise. It is just awesome work. The music from it and the game throughout, with the exception of the original menu theme, are actual samples from NES games. So there's not any original music other than that one track, but they pick only the bangers for, like, if you actually... I think it's the top return on YouTube if you Google this game's soundtrack. Someone has... It's a playlist like any like G. Blair would do, but it's every song from G. Blair's library from the different games. And I mean, it's like, I don't know, man. I closed it already, so I can't go look without fucking doing some work, but it's like 80 tracks or something. It's like an insane number of tracks from fucking just so many games that are like featured in this game and some that are not, you know what I mean? So just... It's got some sounds in there that like, it's just got a sound from that game and you're just like, oh, I didn't know that. Yep. No, yeah, it's fucking such a just a beautiful tribute in every way, music included. And we start, as far as this prologue cinematic goes, we start at the base of a stone structure of some kind, an open doorway full of nothing but black behind it, and the Mega Man 2 title theme swells as text fades in down below that reads, "In the year 1985, the Nintendo Entertainment System was created. It brought much joy to people all over the world, but one NES character never got a chance to share his story. A small sprite appears in the doorway and starts dancing back and forth on his feet. It's maybe the egg enemy from Burger Time? I don't know. I had a hard time. There's so many things in the game, and obviously they're completely out of context that you're like, I'm not, like, I've seen it before, but I don't know where, you know what I mean? And that this is a moment of that. The text wraps up after that appears with "until now, ... And the little egg thing has a speech bubble come out of it that reads, "Aw." And I don't know what that means either, really. But we start painting up what I thought was a palace, the walls of it, as countless sprites from the NES come crisscrossing the screen in all directions. We got like Duck Hunt Ducks, the Dr. Wily's UFO, balloon fight dudes, just a ton of shit, flying enemies and stuff. And the stone structure comes to an end after all that panning up, and we start to see the feet and dress of the Statue of Liberty. The stone below was the base of the monument, which I did not expect that at all. So already starting with the surprises, I guess. And as we start to pan up the length of the Statue of Liberty, more shit keeps pouring on the screen. The Mega Man 2 Wily's Castle Dragon, the cute little green Bubble Bobble Dragon, and Ridley from Metroid flies by at one point. Just like, again, just random fucking smattering of shit nonstop the whole way. And the Mega Man 2 theme winds down as we reach Lady Liberty's head, and the pan comes to a stop. Then the one original music track rips in, the menu theme. The title treatment whirlpools into existence next to Lady Liberty's face. The menu whooshes in from screen left, and Abobo comes somersaulting down from above and hangs from one of the spikes on her crown by one arm. And the menu has Start Game, a level select option once you've beaten a level, accumulated in-game achievements, and then you can also fire up the Abobo bonus game from here once you've unlocked it. The level screen is modeled on the Mega Man 2 stage select screen, and the only thing that's different is the bosses pictured are, of course, from this game instead of Mega Man 2 bosses. And the achievement selection, so you only beat the game once. Did you even go in and play with this stuff? The achievements?
I didn't even check those.
Okay, so yeah, the achievement selection, so it brings up another menu. From here you can select medals, unlockables, or to clear your saved data in these categories if you want to start the program anew, because it is kind of, you can't go back kind of thing as far as achievements being unlocked and what have you. And the medals are plentiful, and the game will flash a notification when you're playing, in any sort of part of the game. Although many of them are, or all of them probably, I guess, are level specific given the variance in the levels. So yeah, shit will happen, and then a little notification will pop up in the top right and register them as you play, and they are worth arbitrary amounts of points each, 5, 10, 25, 50, etc., for a total of 2,000 points possible that you can log while playing this game. So yeah, so there are so many, and playing through the second time, I definitely had ones that I hadn't gotten and I wouldn't even thought were possible. And yeah, they do a good job of really checking this box and spending some time. They're of course all named fun things and yada yada yada.
I noticed that when going through and getting to the end of a stage and I made one choice, got an achievement, and then went through, made a different choice.
Yep.
And then didn't get an achievement. It made me think, okay, there must be a lot of I wonder how many are in the game that I haven't
Plenty
found.
of replayability, yeah. My first playthrough had me down for 805 points to give some context out of the 2,000. So not even half on my first play, So
wow.
Yeah, lots of stuff to get there if you want to be a completionist psycho. And this game's so fucking fun. I shouldn't say probably. I'm gonna leave it on my desktop and I will play this periodically just for the fuck of it.
Yeah. I can definitely see coming back through and just trying some different stuff, doing some different things. 100%, man.
Yeah,
100%.
It probably should go to the top of our shit worth playing list when bored.
Yeah,
it's a banner example of the perfect thing for that. The unlockables menu option contains a number of things. These are pretty cool. I can't believe you haven't seen these. This is super cool. So there's what's called battle mode, which is just a souped up version of the versus mode from Double Dragon. So that bonus game that they put in the NES title. So the developers qualify this with some text on screen here that it is a semi-buggy thing that was cut from the main game. So it was something they were developing and decided didn't fit, or they didn't want it, or they couldn't get it to as polished as they wanted. Whatever the reason was, it wasn't included in the main game, but it was originally intended to be. And it is a pretty cool concept. You can pick one of 4 different colored Abobos. So there's Perp Bobo, Blue Bobo, so on and so forth. And then you stage select it allows you to pick from a various range of settings from various NES games. There's the Maniac Mansion front yard. There's the River City Ransom Gymnasium. The canals from Double Dragon, where you actually play this on the Double Dragon cart. Those it's in front of the river, the pillars and stuff. Yeah, and there's some others too, of course. So that's pretty cool. And you can, it's just that battle mode, relatively speaking, against each other. That I imagine you can play with the second player also, but you can also play against the CPU. And then there's the ending option that allows you to rewatch just that if you beat the game. And then there's one called Luck Dragon Lunacy, and this is a flying game. Lunacy. Yes, it's a flying game where Abobo rides the dog from Neverending Story.
What?
And yes, and you know what? That actually brings up the topic of they're not just paying tribute to the NES here; they are paying tribute to the lifestyle, the lifestyle of the '80s child. You know what I mean? And there are a ton of moments in this experience where they bring up topics, movie things, and cartoon characters and stuff that have nothing to do with anything actually happening in the game. They are just fun little nods to things that kids of that time would recognize and love. And this is one of those examples. There's nothing else about the never-ending story in this game. This dog doesn't appear as an enemy or something. It's just the dog. You can ride it for this mini game. That's the only time you ever see it. So there's just an abundance of that in this Flash game. But this bonus thing it's one of those, what I equate it to is it's one of those phone games that auto scrolls and you're just trying to grab shit as it flies by, like the Mario Run concept, which is like, I hate to no end, but it's certainly a very popular thing now, and I understand why it would come as a thought.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's because I restarted my computer, as I always do before a podcast. I pulled up the site or refreshed the site to try to go look at my medals, but I can't, like, it doesn't give me my medal count. So I'm like, oh, I'm bummed. Like, I don't know if it just cleared it out.
Oh yeah, you must not say it must not have saved or something.
But it's giving me the option to like clear my saved data if I want. So that's a weird thing, It
saves something, yeah.
Yeah.
And you have 0. It doesn't show
like
any.
When I go to achievements and I click on medals, I don't see like a total anywhere.
Can you scroll? You can like scroll through them, right?
Yeah, I can scroll through. Hold on, let me widen that thing.
Yeah, somewhere in there, I don't remember where, but and somewhere in there it says the total. I don't know where it would be, but
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because I mean, I can definitely do all of select all the levels, so it registered that. But
interesting. Oh well. Yeah,
weird.
Who knows? Who knows? So if you beat this. If you beat the never-ending story thing, it unlocks another unlockable, and this is called a Boboster, and this is how you get the dope-ass illustrated poster, beating this, basically. So a link pops up, you can click on, and you can download it from there. So,
something to strive for.
Yep. I mean, I beat that the first time. It's not hard at all.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not even, I was like barely trying, really.
Just the image of him riding on the Neverending Story dragon. Like,
yeah,
I want that image,
yeah, it's worth looking at for sure. I mean, yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. I'm just simply saying the game is not going to be some wildly satisfying experience. Nor should it be. It's a fucking extra bullshit menu thing. Yeah. Just a way to get you this poster, The fact that there's anything other than just a link is good job.
Cheers.
Yeah. So the last thing you can do from this menu is start the game, and when you do so, all the text disappears, and Abobo flips off the crown point and starts tumbling down below as we fade to the beginning street shot from Double Dragon. And here, Abobo stands in for Billy and or Jimmy's girl in the game, depending on how you want to look at that, and one of the Double Dragon Willies stands in front of him. The gang flanking him in this case is comprised of a thug from Renegade, Kid Nicky from the game Kid Nicky, the Radical Ninja, and then one of the shirtless purple-haired dudes from Double Dragon, Chin.
I believe
Tai.
Chin.
So
I believe it's Chin.
Yeah, right. Chin Tai is the full name. I looked it up.
Okay,
yeah, Chin might be. I think it is called Chin in many cases though. So you're not incorrect either. There's also a big red pillow randomly on the ground near the back wall for seemingly no apparent reason. And Willie kicks Abobo in the shins, is what it looks like to me. Maybe the nuts, I guess, also is possible. Not sure, but he kicks him somewhere low.
It looks like he could kick him in the nuts. The way I have it paused, it does look like it's a nut shot. So
okay, so that would be more in the vein of the poop humor that the game is happy to employ at times. So, but it looked kind of more like shins to me in the moment. But either way, he kicks him 3 times, and it drops Abobo to his knees, yelling in pain. Willie then kneels and slings him over his shoulder, just as they would with the damsel in distress, and then the gang exits, also just the same. Then a cat walks on screen from left, stops, and sits just beneath a shadow that appears from above.
Apparently, correction, Josh, the cat from Chrono Trigger comes in.
Oh, is that what's okay?
If you're familiar with
that Chrono Trigger. Yeah, I never played Chrono Trigger, so that's dude. I mean,
so many. There's so many of
them. There's just way too many, dude. But yeah, I haven't played Chrono Trigger to any, maybe at all actually. So that's fucking great that it's just nonstop. Yeah, it's not. That's also worth saying too. It's not just 8-bit references. There are 16-bit references too. Yeah. Not a ton of them.
Yeah,
but there are some. So yeah, it's just woo. All the fucking bases are covered. So that shadow is being cast from Abobo, coming down, and he slams into the ground on one knee. A huge explosion of pavement from beneath him sends the cat shooting up into the air and off the screen. And then the shadow from the cat appears above the pillow, and it looks like it's going to land safely there, the red pillow in the background. But the cat, when it actually comes down, slams into the pavement right next to the pillow, and a bloody mess just fucking goes everywhere. Yeah. So
setting the tone for what to expect.
Yep. Setting the tone is the perfect verbiage, because that's exactly what the tone of this game is. So all that shit disappears as Abobo stands. An empty outline appears where Abobo had been, and a big yellow question mark appears inside of it. And Abobo throws his arms up in the air in shocked response. One large tear slowly falls to his feet before he wipes his eyes with his forearm. He sobs a few times, and then his other hand starts to shake, kind of Hulkamania style. And then he just absolutely loses it. His eyes turn laser red. He bends down and turns his palms towards the sky and screams. Then the sepia-toned Mission 1 card from Double Dragon comes slamming down from above, scored by the Mission Start theme, and then the Absolute Fire Mission 1 theme starts, and you are playing the first stage of Double Dragon on the NES, but as Abobo. And it's only going to get progressively and exponentially cooler from here, dear Lord Disciple. Right? Like, as amazing of an opening as that is, that's nothing compared to where we're going.
Right? You start off just like flipping the script. Like, all right, instead of being Jimmy or Billy fighting Abobo and these characters, I'm Abobo fighting Jimmy and these characters. Okay, we're rolling with it. We're rolling with it.
Amazing. So controls and HUD is what we normally talk about here. And, anyone listening to the 100th podcast or 100th episode of this podcast knows all the controls that will be used in this game for each one of the games that it puts you through wrote. So I don't think we necessarily need to cover those. These are certainly just the Double Dragon controls. And the only difference is, yes, you are Abobo. Yep. There is, however, a new system that is specific to this that we could go through. And that is, there's a persistent HUD in the bottom 10% of the screen or so. And in that, you always have an Abobo status on the left with your avatar, and then a life count, or a life counter, and then a health meter, and then below that a rage meter. And life and health functions like we know them to. The rage meter, however, is 3 red rectangles that can incrementally fill up as you land blows on enemies in succession.
Without getting hit.
Yeah. Right. Well, you don't. Some levels you lose it all, some you don't. That's kind of a bit of it varies. Whichever game you're in, if you do consecutive multi-hit combos, it triggers multipliers that add to the rage that accumulates and it usually will give you some sort of real big on-screen notification that you're doing a good job and that is happening, in addition to the actual meter changing as it increases. And yes, you also lose differing amounts of ground in the meter as you take damage in the game from enemies. Some cases completely, but here in Double Dragon, it's just incremental. And when you fill your rage meter, you are clearly notified, and then Abobo will flash and smoke comes off of him like he's kind of just fully heated
Flaming,
up.
Yeah. He's on fire!
And you hit the A and B button together to fire off a rage attack that is tailored to the game you were playing at the time. And this, after it deploys the attack, will reset the meter, of course, back to 0, and you're starting anew. It can happen, the better you're doing and the more you're landing blows, though, you can fucking do this multiple times a stage, and it's super fun. You can, once you start smoking, like I said, you have to hit the buttons together, so you decide when you deploy it, which is great to have that agency. But if you take damage when that's happening, you will lose it and not be able to use it. So that's a nice, cost-benefit system that you have to weigh as you play the game, and that was a smart and nice touch, I think.
Absolutely.
On the right side of the HUD is a box where you are shown a life meter avatar and name for the enemy you are currently engaged with or most recently landed a blow on, I guess is maybe a better way to put that. This adds a nice bit of opportunity for fun and jokes during the gameplay, too, as sometimes the names are not exactly what they would be in the game, or whatever. Some kind of joke will be there to have some fun with it, which is cool. So this so like that Mega Man stage select screen, the picture is the boss that you're going to fight in it. And I guess I don't know if that's revealed until you're... Because, you don't go to this I guess it's worth saying that. You don't go to the, like, that's the level select screen that mirrors the Mega Man 2 stage select screen. You don't get shown that as you play the game naturally. You know, that's a going back to the stage select and restarting. So
like, I didn't even find out about that until you mentioned it, and I was like, after I had beaten most of them. So that's, I like that. Right. I like that.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But I'm simply saying, like, there's what I'm going to get at, because each one of these stages are named on the stage select screen. And, you know, they show the picture of the boss, and then there's a name below it, but I don't think that's supposed to be the name of the boss. I think that's the name of Abobo in that stage. So the name for this stage is Double Drabobo. So it's kind of like, it's usually a play on the game name, but with Abobo. You know what I mean? So I think that's supposed to be who you are as Abobo in this stage. But this one is called Double Drabobo.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And yeah, while you are playing through, the backgrounds, foregrounds, and mechanics of Double Dragon are in place there. This is not your grandpappy's Double Dragon on the NES. You start this level with a few familiar enemy sprites. We have a Willy and a Roper, but even these have funny names. Roper is named Bubba Hanks, for example. You know, so it's like just a funny whatever. It's funny 2 words to call him, and not his actual name. But you are given a steel barrel to pummel them right from the jump here. So, like, that's the funnest thing in Double Dragon. We talked about that. We played the Sega one, but not the NES one, but it's still the same deal. Like, the funnest part of that game is getting a weapon and thrashing shit with it. So, you know, that's why the game itself is so scarce with those, because they're OP, and that's why they're fun. You know what I mean? Abobo's Big Adventure is not worried about that.
Not at all.
One, they've done such a good job of programming the challenge into it that they don't have to, you know, meter the fun you're going to have. So that's to their credit too. But their bigger concern is that every single moment of this game is the funnest, most enjoyable experience possible for a lifelong NES gamer. And it relentlessly serves that up to the player. And it is precisely as magical as that should feel the entire time you play it. You know what I mean? And like, that is their primary concern. And this is just, it's so funny to me that right from the jump, they capture that and show you that this is what it's going to be the whole way. You know what I mean? Here's the steel barrel, fucking waste these dudes with it. And, you know, you can knock them both down at the same time, just the same way. And then the barrel, which it doesn't do this in the original Double Dragon, but it blows up after you use it a few times. Yeah. And it like gives you the flash to let you know that's going to happen. So yeah, it's just tons of fun, even with these first dudes, you know, not just your basic learn how to play the level. Like, you know how to play Double Dragon. We know that. We don't got to waste time with that. Have some fun right now. You know what I mean? It's just, so good, dude. I
think on top of that, like, the additional fun for me with this is that I love beat 'em ups, right? But like, when I'm playing them, like, we play Streets of Rage 4, for example, with the kids. Like, most of the time, we're talking about the ridiculous enemies that we're fighting. Like just because some of them have like weird stances, or like one is fighting with his hands in his pockets, so we call him his name is Dylan. So with his hands in his pockets, we call him Disrespectful Dylan. Like, how dare you come at me like that? Like, I'm gonna whoop your ass. Like, so like we have fun talking about the enemies, and so I like that here they give you so many, starting from the beginning, so many fun enemies for you to be like, oh, because I love beat 'em ups, but like now I'm kicking a Mario. That's your next, or not a Mario, but a mushroom, a Goomba. Yeah. Like, that's the next enemy that you fight, and then more of those will come. So for me, seeing that here was like, oh, kung fu characters, oh, the cat from Koto Chick, you know, all of that. River City Rumble guy.
Again, relentless is the perfect word that I said. It's just like, it is just, at no point are you ever and that's an NES, like, shitty NES game trope too, that like, just, you know, your common grunts are just this repetitive slog of the same bullshit, both in movement and attack sets and the aesthetic of them. And that is like, you don't ever once think that this entire video game.
Not one time have I had that.
Yeah. Will you be like, oh fuck, one of these things again? Like, no, not gonna happen, you know? So just, God, it is just so fucking good, man. And I mean, in general, it just, the whole experience of this just feels exactly like Double Dragon. Like, the thing that I would use as an example for this, for Double Dragon specifically, one of my tactics, both in the NES game and the SMS one that we did a game up on, like, one of the really effective tactics is you inch up to an enemy on the pixel road just above or below them, and then drop down onto or bump up onto their level right as you're on top of them already, and you are close enough in to get hits in. You know what I mean? And that's just one example, but it feels so fucking right and nailed it. You know what I mean? And like, again, this, if it's not 6502 assembly NES architecture that it's happening on, it's more impressive,
right?
Because they captured it to the, not just the look, but the feel of it.
It literally feels like they took the game and just like changed the sprites,
and,
like, you know?
Yeah, man. And I just cannot fathom that programming in Flash easily accomplishes that. I just can't. I don't know shit about modern programming, but I just don't. This is a. Oh my god, I need to write that down. This is a fucking Order of Erdrick interview I need to have. I need to talk to these guys.
Yes.
I need to talk to these fucking guys. And where's my fucking notepad? I need to talk to these fucking guys and find out. Yeah, how the fuck they just thought of this and the nuts and bolts of doing it, man. Order of Erdrick.
Like, they could have just easily made it a regular game and put it on Steam, but for free. Like, they could have, you know what I mean? They could have, but Flash, that was shocking to me. Like,
yeah.
My first thought was like, didn't we get rid of Flash? Like, it still exists? Like, like how's it still, how's it work still?
Flash is, well, it's still around. That is the thing too, though. Like, I remember I still have it, I think, in like just my like, my backup hard drives and stuff. I have this folder that I had in college that is just like all this random dumb shit that was like early internet stuff, And there was this Flash game that I remember finding wherever it was at, and it was a snowball fight game, and it was just like, it was angled, kind of like NES Play Action Football at a 45-degree angle, and it was like two squads of snowball throwing fuckers, and there were little castles and stuff you could get behind to whatever. And it's just, you're just literally throwing snowballs. And it's just fucking mouse snowballs, like whatever. And I remember I dumped so much time into just wasted in between trying to write papers and stuff on this shitty HP fucking desktop I had. That wasn't shitty. It was pretty nice for the time, I suppose. HP desktop. But yeah, I mean, like Flash games, that was a big like early 2000s thing, So yeah, I also think very dated thoughts when I hear Flash program or something. So. But also the simplicity of programming on that must be pretty high, because that's why there were so many of those just random game things of that era, probably. So maybe that's part of the answer too. But we won't know until I interview these fucking guys, which I'm going to do. So back to the game. You are then mobbed by another roper, and this one is named Grumpy McGee. So they're not even the same names for these dudes, the same sprites, and the few instances where you do get a repeat in quotations. Yeah. And then from the right, one of the thugs from Renegade, we saw in the prologue, enters from screen right, along with Mario Brothers 1 Goomba. And let the fucking mashup mayhem begin, man. The Renegade Cat is named Ricky Styx, and the Goomba poses no offensive threat. It only takes, you walk up to it, and it takes one hit, and that sends it bouncing around off the edges of the screen before flying up out of the play area and never be seen again. So just like, it's just... Fun. It's not, like I said, it doesn't even pose an offensive threat. It's just a fucking Easter. Easter
it's just walking in it's just walking through.
It's just a moment. It's just an emotional moment for the player to have. And, just beautiful, man. It's fucking beautiful. So the proceed arrow appears, just like it would in Double Dragon, as a lone kid from the shopping mall screens, and River City Ransom comes walking out from the right. And that's the only time you get the proceeds. It's not like that happens repeatedly throughout the level, as it normally does in Double Dragon. This is just a moment. To set up another moment of one of those kids coming out. And you can walk up to this kid as it like stops. You can walk up to this kid, and it doesn't even have the parent with it. Like in River City Ransom, I think they're with the mom or something walking around in the shopping mall areas. But the kid is alone, and you could walk up to it, and if you hit the attack button, it rips her head off. And Abobo tosses it up in the air and catches it in his mouth and chews it up. And other than getting the achievement that doing this unlocks, no mind is paid to this abominable act at all. Like, it's not. There's no. There's no penalty. There's no
I
there's no
played
frowning
through
upon
again
it.
and tried to not do that, but I was like, I'm gonna lose the achievement, and like the kid's just standing there, so I guess I'm gonna
Right.
do this anyway. Like I was,
Yeah. So yeah, it just encourages you because that's the whole deal. Like Abobo's whole vibe, which I guess we kind of haven't gotten to. Abobo's whole vibe is like he's still a villain and this evil guy that wants to kill and destroy everything, even though he is the protagonist, you know. So this anti-hero character. And yeah, man, it's just fucking great, dude. It's just fucking great. From there, a bunch of one-hitter quitter clone sprite karate fuckers from Black Box Kung Fu. You kind of touched on that a bit. They come spilling out of this building, and I don't think they can hurt you either. They're just there to fill up your rage meter. You know what I mean? Because there's so many of them to kill and get you thinking about how that works and like noticing how the rage meter works, that it's like an incremental build, and the better and more cleanly you attack things and don't take damage, the faster it fills up and you can employ it, you know? And just so good. And then a TNC, whatever it is, surf, whatever that game is, the skateboarder from that, the monkey, comes cruising out. So you can kick him off his board, you know? And again, that's just, there's a lot of that too of like, they take the tried and true moments of NES-dom that were frustrating for players at the time, or things that are like vilified or like have
you're going to remember that moment for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean remembering the character or the moment from the original game back in the day, and it takes that thing that everyone has this vitriol for built up over the years and allows you to get back on it, pay him back basically. And that TNC skateboarding game is known for being like a total dog shit LJN title. So this is you basically right from the jump trashing on LJN is what this is, you know. Fucking LJN. It's just a moment for you to have, and that's, again, it's just an emotional moment. It doesn't matter to the story.
I forgot how much you love LJN. This is a reminder.
I actually am not. I'm not the biggest LJN hater, but much of the NES community certainly is. You know, I think this is aimed at satiating them. His inclusion here. The next battle is against the DD Chuns, whatever you want to call them, and then Kid Nicky, and then a couple more Goombas, and all this happens while Donkey Kong throws barrels down from a ledge high up on the building that the Kung Fu dudes came out of. And after you have to kill the foursome below first. So you're dealing with these barrels rolling down and coming down and blowing up while you're doing that. Once you kill those dudes, though, ladders on the building drop down, it's like a fire escape kind of deal, and you can go up there and fuck up Donkey Kong, like on the ledge, you know. Nice. And you kill him, and he does that upside down death animation from the original DK game where he falls down after you kill him, and then the door below opens up and it reveals DK Jr. crying over his dead dad, and it's just so all of it is just surprises, and it's a fucking overwhelming how much shit there is to enjoy and talk about and experience in this fucking game. It's so good. The rage attack here in this level, each one is unique to the level you're in. So in this case, Abobo will jump up off the screen, and then huge boulders come raining down all over the enemies below before Abobo slams back down like he did in the prologue sequence. So that's the animation you get. This, of course, it kind of has the same effect. Like the thing doesn't necessarily have to hit things, you know, whatever the thing happening is. They don't necessarily have to impact the individual sprites of the enemies. It usually wastes any grunt on screen and does a sizable damage to any boss that might be on the receiving end of it. The next enemies are the River City Ransom hero, Alex, and then both the black and white spies from Spy vs. Spy. So they just reach so deep into the well, dude. Yeah.
Whoa.
But never, they reach so deep, but never it's never, there's only a handful that I didn't know. Only in the whole game, but there's so many. So, like the Spy vs. Spy, like Jab and I love that game. We were in that game one time. We've talked about it on the pod a little bit, but we've never done a game app or anything. We fucking love that game. It's so much fun as far as like an early stage NES game goes, like a co-op, on-screen co-op competitive experience, So just such a cool touch to use them. And obviously they're Mad Magazine IP too, so that's also a nostalgia tick and a half. Like, relentless, dude. Relentless. I'll say that word so many
that's
times.
one thing they also said was that they definitely were not above and were happy to throw in references of the era, of the time that weren't necessarily from a specific game. But like, if
or
you're
Nintendo
playing the
at
game,
all.
you know that reference. Slow.
Yep.
Kind of like the Neverending Story Dragon.
Yep. For sure. See, when you kill these spy versus spy guys, they turn into angels and float up, which is a big thing from the IP too. And that probably was in the NES game. I haven't played that in a while. That would be a fun throwback fucking game, actually. But playing some competitive of that as well would be really fun. But yeah, they fucking float up away when you frag them. That's pretty cool. And then a few more after that, a steel barrel that animates called Beardy Barrel, which is from nothing that I know of.
This is one of their very few own characters that they put in the game. Like one of the only. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
That
very,
were
very
unique.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, it's actually kind of hard as far as grunt enemies go. Like you got to like battle with them, and then he blows up. And then there are a couple of basic action game thugs they're probably from a game. They look like they could and should be.
They are.
But I couldn't.
The bosses.
Couldn't place them.
They are actually level bosses from Kung Fu.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I haven't played a ton of that game, so
I loved that game. So I immediately recognized them. Like, oh my gosh, these dudes! And I hate both of them. I hate both of them. So to your point, I was happy to use my rage meter on these guys.
Yeah, that's that kind of plays into. Although you were late to NES too, so I'm surprised that you did play a lot of black box Kung Fu. But like, that I didn't. I feel like a lot of the black box games are a little bit lost on me because I wasn't around for that era, and by the time I did get my NES, you're not seeking out those black box games, box games.
That was the thing. I was late to owning one, but like my cousin who lived like a bike ride away, I would spend a night over his house regularly and play with him. My other cousins had one. At my grandmother's house in Kentucky. I had people who had them, so I was definitely playing those games. I just didn't own one.
I have my memory. It's fine. I have one. That's a game I played so little that my memory of it is tied to a very specific time and place thing. Like I remember playing that game at that David Camargo. Jab and I have talked about him on some of the side quests. I think one of my really good friends in grade school that fucking somehow got murdered when I was in college over some drug shit.
Oh man!
But I remember being at his house playing fucking that, and it's like be picturing on his TV and just like being like, it's just the fucking so repetitive. Such a repetitive video game experience. So yeah, it never didn't do it for me. But so that's cool that we know what those are. Because yeah, that's one of those. There's probably maybe, I guess if I put a number on it, there's probably like between 3 and 5 that I was like, I'm not exactly.
I can't place that.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Cool. So when you reach the dead end, a door opens up and you go inside a warehouse or something akin.
But before you go into the warehouse, did you attempt the double dragon trick?
Oh, going up the wall? No!
Dude.
What happens?
Okay. I love this since I love Double Dragon. It's one of my favorite games.
I'm so upset that I didn't think to do that.
So do this on your next playthrough. You go up the wall in between the two, just like you would in Double Dragon. But when you get all the way up, you go into a private party. And it's the Lindas from Double Dragon who have the whips. It's like an S&M party thing. You have like Princess and Mario flying up in the air, like Mario 3 and like Princess. And you have like a couple other characters who are like chained up and tied up, and she's like whipping them and stuff, and one's tied to a chair, and she says something like, "Hey, you're not supposed to be here. This is a private party." And then you get kicked out. Like it's so good. Like it's so good.
It knocks you back down right in front of the door. Oh God.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm so upset that I didn't think to do that. I am so upset that I didn't do that. I am definitely going to, as soon as we finish, I'm going to fire that. I might do that during a break, actually.
Highly recommend.
So
like and that's one thing, like going through this too, is just like, there's like little tricks and Easter egg moments that you can just play through and miss. I know I missed some.
I played the shit out of this game on 2 full playthroughs, dude. Like, as I do for these podcasts, man, like fucking with like intent to explore everything. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's just too much. There's probably a fucking bunch of those, man.
Yeah.
There's probably a bunch of those. It might be worth Googling. I'm sure there's a list. Because I don't know how many other things I could have tried. I mean, I guess there's that's an example. Obviously one more, but
Well, that's the kind of thing
probably.
that's like ingrained in my head. So it's like, oh, what happens?
But I know that, dude. I mean, I'm not a huge Double Dragon kid, but I know that. I can picture that in the fucking Nintendo Power that it's in, like in the.
But the fact that they just made that into something, you know, it was just like, what? No way.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. It's beautiful, man. It's fucking warms my heart. It's fucking beautiful. So inside the warehouse is a conveyor belt that will drag anything that hangs onto it, or hangs out on it, rather, to the pit, or into the pit to the right. And double Abobo, which is the... Well, that's not right. We kind of figured out that's right. When I was doing my notes originally here, I assumed that we were calling Jeffy here double Abobo. But I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
So, yes, your adversary here is the machine gun toting Jeffy, and he comes out of the door on the back wall, and the music choice for this is A Tough Fight from the River City Ransom OST. You will instinctively, or at least I did, spend this battle trying to knock him down onto the conveyor belt so you can watch him plunge to his death, but I was unable to achieve this.
Same. I was so frustrated. I was so frustrated, man. It's like they reversed it here, like, haha, you're going to want to try this, exactly. But we're not going to let you.
That's the thing. They know, again, it's such a...
Yeah.
You just know, has like any developer ever known their audience so well, I guess, is kind of the thing. You know, it's like that's what the kernel is behind all this. But like they know you're going to come in here and try to do that. They fucking know that. So I'm pretty sure it's impossible because he does, whenever you knock him down, even if it's onto the conveyor belt, which I don't even know if that's possible off the top of my head. Yeah, but even if you do that, he immediately when he gets up, he immediately does this like roll move that takes him to another part of the screen. So he's never going to be on down long enough to roll off the way a knockdown boss normally would in the Double Dragon whatever universe, you know what I mean? The way the physics work in this game normally. So yeah, so they my hypothesis is they took that away from you so you could enjoy the death animation, which is Billy coming roaring in from off screen with a forklift to impale him in a bloody mess. And when he does this, it knocks his machine gun to the ground and skitters across the pavement, but it keeps firing while it does this. And as it's doing that, it kills Billy in the forklift. And it also, and then after Billy dies, blows up the forklift in the entirety, which knocks you down into that pit, Abobo down into that pit, and takes us to the next cutscene, or the first cutscene, I guess. And it's a prison cell, and Abobo safely falls into this, so the fall doesn't kill him or hurt him or anything. But down here, there's, it's like a constrained cell, like a very rudimentary, fucking grimy, third world prison cell, not like a nice and shiny U.S. well-funded prison cell. And there's the skeleton bones on the ground, and one of them is actually a complete skeleton from Castlevania turned on its side. So that's just a fun little thing that they did. And the room's theme from Goonies 2 plays while you're down here. And there's also a toilet in one corner, an open tin can of some green shit in the bottom right corner, and you won't notice it until later, but a green Mario pipe extends down below the cell from the toilet, which you won't notice it until the animation takes you to look there, probably, or your view there, your eyes there. Spit it out, motherfucker. And so you're down here for a second. Abobo paces and searches before walking over and kneeling down to grab the can of the shit, and he tosses it up in the air and eats it whole, and I'm kind of thinking it's spinach. Like, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting, like Popeye spinach kind of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, he eats the tin can in the hole, and he chews it up. He stands there a beat, and instead of, like, getting Popeyed up, which is kind of what you're expecting to happen, I think, he starts dry heaving before he drops to his knees for a sec, and then he sprints to the shitter to blow up the shitter, basically. And as he's shitting on it, a river of shit flies up out of his ass so hard it propels him up into the air, where he grabs the light bulb hanging from a string or a cord from the ceiling. And so he hangs there, and despite the endurance that he exhibited while hanging from Lady Liberty's crown on the title screen, he can only hang on a beat before he slips off and falls down into the churning waters of the toilet. and he's sucked down into it
like
through
so
the
gross.
green tube. Yeah. Oh, very much so, yeah. Yeah, but he's sucked down into this tube, and this is logically accentuated by the SMB1 warp pipe sound cue as you're passing through it. And this takes you to our next stage, Super Mabobo. And we cut to a Super Mario Bros. 1 waterscape, a green pipe poking out into the water through a wall of traditional orange SMB bricks. And you can see the bulge of Abobo coming through the pipe before his head pops out the end of it. And you don't just come all the way out, though. You're stuck, and you're prompted to hit the A button to, like,
pump you
repeatedly,
out, pretty much.
Yeah, to dislodge him. And, yeah, so he flies out of it after you hit it enough times, and you are then playing a water level from the first Super Mario Brothers. So, like, what were those? Like, there was one in, I think it was in, like, 3,
World 2
maybe?
in
3. Is it 2?
In Mario 1. And
yeah, you know, it's a
World,
lot of people.
World 3 and Mario 3. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of people will usually warp past where these are in the Super Mario Brother 1 game. So I honestly don't know off the top of my head. But it's those kind of physics where you're like, it's the tap thing to keep yourself, to elevate you. And then, you just let yourself fall, kind of like in this inertia based, you don't really have control over it way, and that's how you navigate this in a Super Mario Brothers game, unless you have a frog suit, which obviously is not applicable to Super Mario Brothers 1. You do have the frog tongue attack, though, so you do have some offensive capability, which is nice.
Well, I that's actually the Yoshi tongue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Copy, yeah.
So, like, same animation, sound, everything.
Okay, word. Does the frog not have a tongue attack in Super Mario Bros. 3?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it does.
Does it?
I think it does.
I don't remember now. I just remember the swimming and jump, the super high jump. I don't think it has a tongue. I feel like the tongue was only implemented with Yoshi and Mario.
I guess, yeah, because Mario's face is popping out of the mouth of the frog, so that makes sense. So yeah, the Yoshi, okay, yeah, I equated it to the frog suit, so good catch. But yeah, you do have that, and Abobo will eat the enemy, and then you can spit it back out, yes, Yoshi style, as an attack, which is nice. And he keeps like his cheeks chipmunk out the whole time it's in his mouth. Great attention to detail there. There's little air bubbles that are emitted here and there, so all the trimmings are included to give it the vibe. And they interestingly start out here with very traditional Mario water enemies. We have Cheep Cheeps, crabs, and bloopers, but shit hits the fan soon enough, starting with a huge anglerfish robot from Mega Man 2. And with this, you have to cap it, like it spits shrimp out of its mouth, and you have to capture those with your tongue and then fire back at their little angler light up top in between the shrimp shit getting continuously shot out at you. So that's fun. Get you learning how to use that mechanic pretty quickly. And there is a random subspace door after the first angler, like only time you'll see this. And from Super Mario Bros. 2 I'm talking about. And you can't avoid it even, so it's like
you're going to go in there.
Yeah, the water bottlenecks, like there's stones that force you to touch it. So you have to go into it. And inside here, a Goonies 2, or maybe it's Friday the 13th style UI comes up, and the Little Mermaid boss battle fires up the song. And the picture window shows a not unattractive topless mermaid flopping her tail around in a padlocked tank. And she thanks you for saving her and then asks you what you'd like to do now. And you're presented with 4 options. You can eat, hit, mate, or vomit. And I tried mate the first time, and I think I can't remember what the animation was. Because there is like a Bobo sprite in a box to the left too, and I think that gets like a little hard or something. I can't remember what happened when I did that the first time. My second playthrough, where I was note taking and really paying attention, I did vomit, and for that the mermaid says, "Oof, that was mean. I hope a shark eats you," and then kicks you out. So those are the 2 I tried. Do you remember which one you went with?
I started out with mate as well, and then when I came back through again, I tried hit. And she was, I think she also said, like, I hope you get eaten by a shark. And it's like she was, like, angry or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But those are the only 2 options. I did not try to eat her, though.
Yeah, I didn't either, yeah. I'm sure that one's probably different. My guess is, because it's kind of like...
Because we eat other bad guys so often. I wanted to try something different, You give me more options,
Sure. and she's not, unattractive by pixel art character standards. So coming out of there, you have to navigate some of the prick seaweed from the TMNT dam level. Of course, they would put that here, given how much PTSD our generation has from that. And they made an awesome electrocution animation for Abobo 2 when you inevitably hit this shit. Like, it's unavoidable. You're not going to be able to not hit it, which, again, is very much harking to the original iteration of it in TMNT. But yeah, his animation, he does obviously the electrified outer thing, and like his eyes get real wide, and they show his skeleton at times. Yeah,
that zap sound that you hate to hear every time.
Yeah, which is very much it's very much harking to the TMNT electrocution animation too, which you see the turtles' skeleton as well. So yeah, I was trying to score a screen cap of that actually, and I learned there's a cool occurrence because I didn't do it otherwise. When you let Abobo fall down off the screen into the pits, a mechanical fish comes up with Abobo swallowed up to the neck, and then he bites down, and Abobo's head pops up in like a bloody spurt, and you lose your life.
I think that's the Mega Man, isn't it? I think that's from Mega Man.
Probably, yeah. That makes sense to me, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a robot fish, so any robot is probably Mega Man related. Yeah. But, I mean, otherwise, I never would have, if I wouldn't have been like not, my controller wasn't even in my hand when it happened. I was like, oh shit. Yeah. So that was cool. Little random thing to find. After that sequence, you come to a bubble barrier spanning the vertical length of the screen, and Bubble Man from Mega Man 2 guards it. There's a little mini boss battle here, and you got to snag his bubbles and pop them back at him to take him out, which is pretty easy, I think. 3 maybe, I think, was the number you had to do. Some more environmental shit before getting to another mini-boss battle after that. A dude swimming back and forth vertically in front of a brick barrier. I think this might have been Karnov, maybe?
Yep. Karnov.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he spits the vine crawlers from Super Mario Bros. 2, the things that are little bugs that are actually crawl up and down the vines. He spits those out at you, and you have to nab one of those with your tongue. And he also shoots out these other little like bubble projectiles that you can't grab. So you have to like see what it is, grab it, and then avoid the other things while you're getting it back on them. And it's a pretty like restricted space this is all happening in. So this was actually kind of tough for me, especially the first time. So not a particularly easy one, relatively speaking. Also, he's like another 3 or 4 hits, I think, to get him. So kind of the same vein as Bubble Man. The raid special attack in this level is Abobo turning into a tornado in the water, and then he moves back and forth on the screen to waste enemies as like an underwater tornado. But that's all you're really going to experience before you get to the boss battle arena, which is like this open water space where you're going to fight Jaws. So you start with the small shark sprite from Jaws, like the baby shark, I guess, instead of the mama sprite or mama Jaws sprite. And you have to hit it a handful of times with the... there's cheeps swimming in the water here. So you got to grab those, and then the shark swims in pretty fast, I would say, and you got to like avoid it, swim over it, and as it's passing behind you or going away from you behind you, get the cheap shot in them as they go. I guess you could get it on them as they come at you too, but that's a little less safe, I think. But when that dies, a supersized shark comes barreling in from off screen and bites the little shark in half, then swims quickly back off to the right. And you have to give pursuit and swim over there. And as you're on your way, you'll start seeing what your new ammunition will be for the actual boss battle fight, or the second phase of the boss battle fight, however you want to think of that. The bone dragon head from the Adventure of Link Palaces. So like those skeleton dragon heads. And as you're coming over here too, you'll also get your first look at one of the attacks that the shark has, which is Tetris pieces falling down into the water. And they float slowly down, so they create this environmental hazard that you have to deal with and avoid and swim out of the way of. The shark will be able to conjure these as well in the middle of the battle once you get over there. But when you do see the shark, it is a huge shark sprite with a laser strapped onto the top of its head with this band around its neck.
Josh, that is not how you explain that. What you're fighting next is a shark with frickin' laser beams attached to its head, a la Austin Powers.
Is that Austin
reference.
Powers?
Yeah.
Okay. I was guessing it might be Sharknado, which I have also not watched with any level of enthusiasm. So
I think that comes later.
Okay. Austin Powers is very much another thing that I don't care for. So.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
So
I even wonder that. I was like, did that come from that? Like that was their inspiration. Like,
okay.
Love that.
Well, whichever it comes from, that is the deal here. And the music track is the Batman Returns boss battle theme. And we haven't gotten to Batman Returns.
Fun.
It's not the original Batman boss battle theme. It's the Batman Returns boss battle theme from NES. So that is coming down the road for us at some point on the NES, and I look forward to playing that. I wonder if it's... I've never played that, so I wonder if it's as good as the original. Or if it's even Sunsoft, I guess is another question. I don't know. Or have the answer to. So the shark here is swimming up and down vertically. The laser is shooting straight ahead, and it will periodically stop and start shooting at an angle as the Tetris pieces start falling. So it kind of alternates between those attack sets. And I remember having some decent trouble with this the first play. I died a number of times, and it wasn't total cake on my second time either, but there was certainly an uptick in. I got it done, I think, without... I might even ran out of lives and had to continue.
Oh, really?
On my first playthrough here. Yeah, I had some trouble with this. That tone suggests you did not, yeah?
No, I did not have much trouble here, thankfully.
No. But when you empty its life meter, the laser strap blows up, decapitating the shark, and then the whole shark blows up into pieces as the rescued King's Q from Super Mario Bros. 3 plays. And you have to swim yourself over to and into a pipe, a la exiting any SMB1 level, or SMB1 water level, and you pop up feet first in a pipe on the street of Urban Champion, which I didn't really know until I saw the name in the stage select screen. Urban Abobo. That's another game I honestly have never played. I don't think. It didn't look at all familiar to me. So.
I don't even know if I've ever heard of it before this, because I was like, Urban
Champ. Definitely heard of
it. What is Urban Champ? Like that name doesn't even.
Really?
Yeah.
I had heard of it, but yeah, I don't think I'd ever played it. And the sprite work all looked completely foreign to me for sure, so I don't think I'd had. But so you come up, the pipe explodes, and you pop out next to a dude looking kind of lost, back and forth up at the sky, a brick building that says snack bar on it behind you, and you can also see some evening big sky, cityscape stuff in the background behind that. And yeah, this is easily the weirdest and lamest level in the game, I would say. I don't even know if I'd call it a level. It's kind of just like... I don't know. I think more is supposed to be just an interactive emotional moment. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, the dude can't hit you.
Can't hurt you at all. It just pings off you.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, wait. It's funny. Which, I get I think it's some kind of joke. I think Urban Champion maybe is really easy or something. I don't know. There's definitely some kind of joke happening here that I didn't get because I haven't played the game. But.
Completely foreign to me. That's easily the one moment in the game where I was like, I don't get it at all. Like I missed that one.
Did you and again, this was just a derivative of me taking notes and stopping and knowing that he couldn't hurt me, so I let it just kind of sit there idle for a second. Did you idle at all in this?
No, I know it happens, but I didn't. Yeah, I didn't try.
Yeah, yeah. If you wait long enough, a cop car will cruise by, and Abobo quickly leans up against the building, trying to act all fucking cool, you know? Whistling. He whistles very conspicuously the whole time. Nothing to see here manner until the cop car is gone. So that was kind of interesting and funny.
Apparently that happens in Urban Champ, which you would know if you played the game, but I didn't, so that moment was lost to me.
So so all you're trying to do here is you're just trying to slap the shit out of this guy over and over, after each of which he tumbles backwards a bit before getting up for more punishment. And then you'll hit him for a third of his life meter, basically, and he will roll back, and the screen will pan, and we do this in front of another building. And the next building that you do it in front of is labeled Discount Brothel, and it's got wizards and warriors, princesses hanging in the windows, which is pretty fun. And then the last one is Restaurant, or a restaurant, it says, with Alex from River City Ransom is inside having a coffee. It's like the sprite of him when you go inside a coffee shop to buy things. Yeah. So when you're in front of the restaurant and you slap a few times, one of the cooler Metroid music cues plays, and then the Mortal Kombat Finish Him voice sample is heard as the words appear across the screen, which is amazing. And again, this is one of the few 16-bit things, of course.
Do it? Mm-hmm.
How did they do it? Yeah. So yeah, it's just it's the first Mortal Kombat they're harking to here, and the game awaits your finishing move input. And any button you hit will cause Abobo to explode the guy's fucking melon, and then his headless body stands there with blood coming out of his neck hole. This happens for a beat, and then a woman pokes her head out of the upstairs window of the restaurant and starts throwing confetti down onto the scene, like you and the cadaver next to you. And this causes Abobo to look back up at her a second, and the confetti is like pelting him in the face. So he reaches back without even turning his attention away from the chick, and he grabs the headless body of the Todd dude and whips the whole fucking thing up at the girl. And on impact, both the headless dude and the girl fucking explode in all directions. Like blood flies everywhere. And then her head flies up and off the screen. The dude's body's right arm sticks to the building and slides down the window in front of Alex having his coffee inside. And Alex's, eyes go real wide. He looks back at our hero, kind of scared like, as Abobo starts dancing, and Abobo wins appears in blue MK text up top. You look confused. What are you confused about?
Because I'm confused because I experienced what you just explained, but I'm watching the developers playthrough, and I saw, instead of like the flawless victory, I saw the words friendship, like from Mortal Kombat.
Oh, there's a friendship fatality too. There's probably a babality also.
Like
dude.
if you just stand there when it says finish him and you don't hit him at all, then it says friendship and they don't die, and he just Abobo spins in the air and jumps into the sewer after that, and leaves him. So I was like, "What?"
So good.
I was just confused. I was like, "I've never seen this. What's happening?" He writes a note, like it says, "To my best fan, Abobo." Like writes him a note and then waves to the crowd and then jumps in the sewer.
That's beautiful.
So
I wonder if there babality is such a funny MK thing that I wonder if there's a babality thing too. That's a perfect example. Yeah, got to Google a list. There's just no way you could think of all this stuff.
Yeah, I was just like, what? I did not notice that.
Well, in the fatality context, after the Bobo Win shit appears, they put a button on this with the flawless victory fatality voice sample, and then a button on the button is the girl's head finally falling down from above, and it bounces on the pavement, and then it goes down into the nearby manhole, and then Abobo does his rage pose, and then jumps in after the head into the manhole. So, very cool. Yeah.
Yes.
So well done. And then, so we cuts from that to the entrance screen of a Legend of Zelda dungeon, with the top-down look, like the actual dungeon map screen, or play screen. And it's fittingly scored by the LOZ dungeon theme, of course. And we watch a Link-esque Abobo sprite spin down away from our POV, like real big, and get smaller as it goes until it lands on the ground there. And then you are playing fucking Legend of Zelda as a Bobo, dude. And this was actually, when I first found this, I am getting a little bit of memory now as I'm sitting here talking about this in detail. When I first saw this was what I saw.
Oh, really?
The Legend of Zelda, a Bobo stuff. And this is what I was like, I need to turn this off right now. And play this at a later date and get the experience. I don't want to know anything, you know what I mean? So, yeah, this is amazing, dude. This is it's staggeringly well done, this level. Staggering. It fucking hurts, dude. I'm in pain trying to wrap my head around how good this feels and is, and how well they captured playing Legend of Zelda, but in this game context. It's so good. Like, there is actually, this is the first thing I have negative to say about this whole experience. There is like this slight bit of frame rate something going on here. It's like a choppiness or something. I don't know if you even noticed this. It's not like prominent, but relative to the way a lot of the rest of the game performs. And maybe it could just be my own system's interpretation. Who knows? Maybe this isn't a program thing and it's just the way it's playing on my system. But like, it had like a little bit of choppiness to it. It did not feel completely frame rate smooth the way I think I've internalized Legend of Zelda as playing in my life. So again, I may even be wrong about that. That might not even be a thing. It's just my system's performance. Who knows? Because it was relatively subtle. But again, just trying to like nitpick some level of like, this isn't perfect in every fucking single way. That was one thing that I thought of and jotted down. But you start with full HP here, which means you have your sword projectile attack like you would want in a Zelda game, and that is nice. There are plenty of OG LOZ enemies throughout this, some of which have fun new names. The first enemy you encounter actually is the one-hitter quitter half slimes. And these are called Choco Kisses, which is harking to Hershey Kisses candy, of course. Which I don't know if I'd ever actually called them or thought of them as in real life, but I don't doubt that there's a large subset of kids from the era that thought of them as such. It's certainly a fine thread or connective tissue to draw, I think. So this dungeon isn't modeled off any existing one in the LOZ catalog that I could recognize, first or second quest, but we do have some true to LOZ objectives on our to-do in here. You need to find the stepladder to cross some water obstacles, and it is in one of the dungeon item rooms, just like we all remember in Legend of Zelda. But in these rooms, interestingly, instead of the bats, which I'm surprised that they didn't keep the bats, because that is such like a iconic thing, you know? Mm-hmm. But their alternative is also fun, so whatever. But it's Metroid enemies, a couple of Metroid grunts, flying ones. Well, not flying ones actually. There's the crawling like bug-looking grunts, and then those birds that are pretty common in Metroid as well. One of each down there. But you need to also find keys for doors, just as you would in any dungeon level. And there's a compass and map to be found. The map reveals a map up above the play area in the same style as OGLOZ, and the rooms unmistakably are in the shape of a cock and balls.
I was going to say a big arrow, but I could see that.
No, it's cock and balls. And if you think about the way you proceed through this dungeon, and I'll get to it, if you want to let yourself have any doubt that is what it's supposed to be, when you think about the route that you take through this,
fair. That's fair.
You will lose any hope.
I played this level several times, so I concede that.
Yeah. So the compass, when you find it, reveals the boss battle red dot to be where else other than the dick hole at the very end of the cock. So the raid special attack in here prompts a cutscene where a fairy flies up behind Abobo, and then we cut back to the action where a lightning bolt comes down into his raised sword, charging it so he can shoot a projectile from it that causes a sonic boom wave that emanates outward to deal damage to all the Tektites and the like that are in your vicinity. So going through this a second time, where, I had like a pretty good idea of what to do, it was glaringly apparent of how linear it was. It felt more exploratory, the way you would want a Zelda level to feel my first time. But my second time, I was like, nope, this is very much tracked in a very linear way. They want you to, if not your first time, glean eventually for sure, in that it's quite poetic because you have to basically swim around in a full circle in each one of the balls. and then you basically go straight down the shaft of the cock
go around,
and then out the end of the end of it. So I think that's a very deliberate choice and is supposed to be a linear feeling ultimately once you realize that that's the case. So in the bottom ball of the two, you will encounter some interesting new enemies that I thought were kind of fun. You have a moment with some SMB2 Shy Guys.
Yep.
That you wouldn't expect to find down here. And then also Dig Dug, which was super fun to me.
And he could pump you up too.
Yep.
If you get
I don't think I ever got hit by him. That's cool.
Oh, yeah. If he pumps you up, you have to avoid getting deflated for 10 seconds. So you're just avoiding the enemies. You don't want to get popped at the time. So and then you go back to normal. You can kick their butts.
Cool. Yeah, I did not find it my first time through, but I saw some trace shit somewhere reading something about a wall you could bust through. Did you find this?
No, I was looking around trying to shoot walls, and I was like, "What?
Me too."
There's no wall.
Yeah, my first time through, I'm like, "There's got to be a bomb," but you don't have I was expecting to find a bomb, and then I could try that. I wasn't thinking to shoot them,
but I just kept trying to shoot wall. When I came back through, because I played this multiple times, and I had to restart from here. So I came back through just trying to shoot walls. Okay. I know, like you said, I know this is linear because I lost all my lives at the final boss. Yeah. So I had to do it all over again. So I was like, all right, I know it's linear now, but I want to try to shoot some walls, see if there's any secrets. But I didn't find any. So maybe I just missed it.
Yeah, I didn't find it my first time. Yeah, you did. I didn't find it my first time through either. But going back through the second time with my eyes really peeled for it, there is a visible crack on the southern wall. Of course, the least visible wall, of course, on the bottom right room of the ball sack, of the bottom ball sack. The bottom right room of the bottom ball sack. It's there. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I was wondering if I must have, like, my first time through and hearing that there was a wall, I was like, oh, I must have missed bombs. That sucks that I didn't even find those. That would have been fun just to find them. Yeah. But yeah, it's not. You just shoot it with your sword. And you get, of course, the secret discovered music cue that you'd want to hear in a Legend of Zelda game. Right. And then you go into a hidden room with a stairwell down. And this is the epitome of an Easter egg, dude. Like, there is no substantive benefit to it at all of finding it. You don't get anything to help you whatsoever. But it's one of the treasure item rooms, just the same, but there's no item. It has a S&B toad, and he's standing where the item would be. And then next to him is a bullet bill cannon, like right at eye level for Toad, right? And you walk down here, and the dialogue in the bottom says, sorry, Abobo, but our princess is in another dungeon. And then a bullet comes out of the cannon right into his fucking head and smashes him back into the brick wall where he explodes into a bloody splatter. You know what I mean? So it is just, again, it's one of those things that, like, every kid has played fucking Super Mario Brothers 1 and thought to themselves, fuck you, she's in another castle, you useless prick. You know, and this is your chance to get back at all those toads for all those years, you know, and it's really fucking fun and cool.
Oh, man.
So you're going through here, and they work in lots of beef jokes here, pointing out the item where in the game that, you know, it always looked to me like it was candy. I never thought of it as beef until much later in life, but it is beef. And it's one of the, you're probably going to bump into this room before you get the item, but it's one of those black floor information doling rooms where the shopkeeper dude gives you a message. And in this case, he says, the old man hates beef.
Yes.
So it's really harking to that goblin that tells you what Dodongo hates the flute or something, or hates smoke. I don't know. There's something. Yeah. Well, the old man tells you that Dodongo thing, but there's something later on. Oh, you buy the beef from a goblin in a dungeon 7, I think. I don't know. There's I haven't played LOZ recent enough to be speaking for sure about that, but whatever the case, it's harking back to a lot of stuff, I'm sure. Wait, you get that message.
So you noticed that after? Like, because the first time I killed
before I got the beef. Okay. Oh wait, what do you ask exactly?
If you don't hurt that guy, and you come back through or whenever, that's when it says you get that message, like the old man hates beef.
Oh yeah, I never even thought to attack him. Yeah,
the first time I came through here, you know, because you eat the child like you do this, so I just attacked him, and so when you go back through here, he just says, "What? I wish I remembered. It's something like fuck you, Abobo, or I hope you die, Abobo." Like that's all it says. Like you don't even get the beef message. So I thought when I got the beef later, it was like random. Like okay, I got beef. So when I didn't attack him the next time, I was like, oh. Interesting. Interesting.
Luckily, once you get the beef, you automatically equip it. Yeah, so thankfully that's the case. But yeah, so it is kind of pointless. So it's more of I think just a joke than an actual hint. But
that's so funny.
Fun either way.
Yep. And correction, I totally must have busted that wall. I don't remember doing that, but I did experience the toad thing. I was going back there. I was like, wait a minute, I definitely did that. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they put a room of those automaton blue and white. This might be the biggest instance of it in the whole game to me. There's that room when you're working your way back across the cock to the key you need to get through the end. Mm-hmm. They have that room that is just 10 of those blue and white crosshair things that close on you as you walk through them. And they're just like right next to each other and in a row. And like everyone knows that you got to run full speed and they can't get you. So putting 10 of them next to each other and being a whole room of that is like this wildly satisfying thing to both feel and look at. And like, you know, I recorded a video of that and posted just that in the socials. Like, you know, the caption was fucking, you know, you know for a fucking fact you're watching this at least twice in a row. And like I did it 3 times. It's like I go through the room once, I go back, do it again, and then go back through it again 3 times in a row. And it's like, you know, obviously the video loops when you post it. And like, yeah, there's just, if you have played Zelda and you have that memory of how those work. Like, it's just like mesmerizing. It's like absolutely captivating to watch someone do it that many times, and like, it just seems like they should be hitting him, but it just doesn't, it's just so fucking good. And yeah, I had so many people weighed back in like, yep, I watched that shit again. Million likes and shit. Really, really funny. So the beef is guarded by a manhandla. Those are the 4-pronged chomping things. And dealing with one of those, if you don't have projectiles, is pretty fucking tough. You're going to take some licks for sure.
Yeah. Until you learn that you just have to hit the outside. I thought you had to like get to the middle, so I was like getting hit by it.
You're just hitting the arms first. But even they just move so randomly.
Still,
you got to get so
it's not
going
to be easy regardless. Yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, when you get the beef downstairs, it restores your health to full for the home stretch that you can, if you're careful, you can get the rest of the way pretty easily without taking any more damage. And that is critical because you want the fucking sword for sure in that boss battle.
Dude, that changed my whole boss battle experience. Not having the sword honestly, versus having it.
Less so the old man, but the dragon before it is really hard if you don't have the projectiles to just stand back and peg him with.
Yeah, fair. That's fair. I never really had too much trouble with the dragon either way, so...
because those fucking fireballs, you can't avoid them.
But I mean, everything's a pattern though. Like with the dragon, it's a pattern.
Sure. So yeah, when you do this, your sword becomes the beef, both in melee and ranged combat form. So you no longer have a sword; you are attacking with the beef sprite, which is fun. So if you mind your P's and Q's, battling Aquamanus and such the rest of the way, you can fucking kick it up pretty easy with the projectile stuff. And you kill him, the dragon, and it's a locked door that I think I might even had a key for at the time, but it's a master key door only. You can't get through it.
You got to keep going.
I think it's red maybe, which is not a thing in The Legend of Zelda. So that's like a small tweak to the universe that they add here. But yes, you basically need to kill him and then keep going to the south to go find that master key. And it's just a few clicks to the south and then west, and it is guarded here by a bunch of the flurry ice enemies from SMB2, skittering around as if the floor was ice. And you can actually just stand, and this is a perfect example of like, you gotta be a Zelda vet to know this, and it's not the kind of thing that if you were like trying to reprogram this from scratch and you weren't a person of the times, you wouldn't think to include this. But you can stand in the doorway and never leave the doorway when you come into a room, and things can't get to you. So if you have the swords, you can just stand in the doorway and just continuously spam outwards and never even be at risk of getting hit.
I did not try that.
So I did it here for these dudes for sure because they skid around. Ice anything, fuck off. I don't want to deal with it. That's fair. So you get that, and then it's back to the last room for the boss battle, which is against the old man, the wise old man that you encounter various times while playing Legend of Zelda. And it is a really cool and fun boss battle that takes some good old-fashioned 8-bit game and ingenuity to sort through, I think. My first time playing this, the first phase, he stands alone along the center of the back wall and spews various attacks from his scepter. He's got lasers, he's got fireballs, he's got these slow but persistent homing orbs, and then he also will cast out these trios of grunt enemies that materialize and just create more shit for you to deal with in the space. Yeah. Ghosts, Octrox, the jumping fuckers, the Tektites, I think maybe some others too. But you can't do any damage to him, so you basically can't progress in this fight until you blow up the electrically charged pillars in the four corners of the room. And these will periodically charge up and then shoot a lightning bolt at you too, wherever you're at. And they're pretty much, I think, impossible to avoid.
So they're priority one.
Yeah, right. But it did not occur to me that they would be destructible at first. So I played a lot. My first time in this, I was running around doing and just like taking those lumps. And yeah, it did not go particularly well. I think I might even accidentally blew one up first to get the idea, to be honest with you.
Well, you can't even hit him. You can't even hurt him.
That's what I mean. Exactly. So yeah, I was just running around pissed off like, what the fuck, man? So yeah, I didn't get it at first, but once you do get it, they're pretty easy to deal with. You can actually deal with them before they can even get a thing off. It's only 2 hits. And I honestly, I think once you blow one of them up, they might not even work anymore. I can't remember. But either way, super easy, 2 hits and they're blown up. So you blow up all 4 of those. And once that is done, you can start shanking that motherfucker with the meat as much as possible. Meat! How do you like that, meat? Only stopping to clear out the grunts and avoid the laser fire homing attacks. So when he hits one life unit left, in this phase 2 begins, and he splits into 3 identical versions of himself, all of which wield a master sword and go back to full health, and they start also moving around the room. And like they can do this spin attack that isn't part of that, but they're kind of harking to those knight enemies, I think, with just the way he moves and stuff kind of reminds me of them, their movement pattern. So I think they're kind of harking back to those from the original Legend of Zelda game. But generally speaking, they're pretty cake, I think. You can attack them from the front, which I suppose is different than those knights, so that makes it a lot easier, of course.
It definitely threw me off. I know the first time I fought him, I definitely died because I think I had lower health from the first phase. So either way, I definitely died on this. I did not beat it first time.
Yeah, me either. So you kill 2 of them, of these 3 versions, and when the last one dies, he crumples to the ground before turning in. He crumbles down, and then I don't even know if he gets back up. He turns into this giant motherfucker with ripped sleeves.
It's huge. It's like a Dragon Ball Z character, old master. Yeah. I was like, what?
Yeah, he's got he's all you can really see, because it's top down, so all you can really see most of the time is just this bald head,
right, and just the shoulders
Yeah. And his sleeves are ripped, kind of like wrestler style, so it's some kind of mashup of a really fucking turbocharged old guy.
Mm-hmm.
And this version's got 2 attacks. Both happen via him stomping on the ground. The first will cause crosshairs to appear around the room in random places, and huge boulders will crash down onto them after a moment, so you gotta move your ass to avoid those. And the other is an energy wave attack that emanates in 4 directions, either cardinal or intercardinal. And you have to kind of read and react which is coming, and then jump out of the way as they pass. There's no, there's little gaps between each in the corners of each, depending on which orientation they come out. And that one's, this is not even, I thought this phase of it not nearly as tough. Rather, I don't think. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he can do melee damage on you, right?
I felt like he did. I definitely died on this phase too, because I was always afraid, before even learning about the wave patterns, that he would stomp on me or hurt me while walking around. So I don't know.
Okay. Well, maybe the stomp can, but I don't think, because the whole thing is in between those attacks, you got to run up to him and just spam his ass, right. And I don't think you take damage when you're in there.
Well, on him, I think that's part of the thing too, because I would try to run up and just get a foot and be afraid to
Oh, really?
Afraid to touch
I would just run right into him and just focus spam the shit out of him.
I did not play that way.
But
so mine took longer either way.
Okay, so if you hang out there, maybe when he stomps. Although when he stomps, that's where the one attack emanates from his sprite. So you'd have to be pretty dumb to just stand there for that, I think, and take damage. So,
but just in the walking, kind of I was afraid you'd get hit by the walking and all that.
Yeah, I don't think. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think you can. So that makes it a little easier if you know that, I guess.
Okay.
So when he runs out of life, as in this form, he turns and faces south. He looks up at our POV with his eyes all wide. He crosses his arms, and then explosions start happening all over him. He extends his arms out. His eyes get even wider, and then his arms blow up down to bloody stumps at his shoulders. And then his torso explodes, and then it blows his head straight up in the air, and it leaves nothing but a bloody stump feet there on the ground. And Abobo does a celebratory thing, and then pop-up text next to him suggests we call what he's doing a meat spin. And this is just swinging in a circle around his body with the meat sprite. And while this is happening, the old man's giant head comes back down, and Abobo slaps it at the east wall, creating a giant hole in the style of his secret bomb blow door, And through that, he goes and awaits the princess in there, where she gives you a Triforce piece, to which Abobo says, "Pie is tasty." And then he eats it like a slice of pizza. And Zelda's eyes go real wide, real huge, and then Abobo burps, and then Zelda just rips into him. She says, "You idiot! That's a sacred piece of the Triforce, not a pie force. You're so stupid, Abobo." And then Abobo, in Abobo fashion, turns towards her, sizes her up a second, then he cocks back and just punches her head right off her fucking shoulders. And it goes flying up at our POV and then splats down on the dungeon floor, and a speech bubble pops up from the stairwell that's in the bottom right corner immediately after that says help. And then Abobo freaks out and runs down into there. All the while, they have the inventory box from Legend of Zelda's status subscreen up top in the HUD, and that has not been there for the entire play, right? So inside this box is just a bunch of random-ass sprites that is really interesting and, like, you know, such a extra layer of just whatever creative fun touch that did not need to have time spent on it while developing this game, you know? But inside the box is the meat, the wooden sword, and then a bunch of random shit. A disembodied head, I don't know what that's from. A Cheep from Super Mario Brothers. Samus rolled into a ball, like the Mero ball. And then a Dr. Mario pill and a virus. It was like a pair. And then Pac-Man's sprite. And then a pickle from, I don't know, maybe Burger Time again is my best guess. And yeah, you don't need to do anything with it. You don't get to select them. You don't use them. They're just there for fun.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny how the Triforce disappears. I love that.
Yes, when he eats it, yeah, it slowly disappears. Like as he's munching on it, it like incrementally disappears from the Triforce
so fun.
Triangle up there. Yeah, so just attention to detail.
This is a crazy level, man. Like this, like it was a longer level, and apparently the devs like burned out and took a year off because of this level.
Because of
the difficulty of like having to make it and everything, so that's nuts.
I mean, it's definitely the level that took the most design, you know, because like I said, it's not a dungeon that they're just ripping from the game. Like most of the other levels are like some kind of very close just rip of an existing thing where they swap some sprites and like make a new boss, but the generality of it is pretty samey. This, while mechanically is the same, it's like they had to devise a cock and balls map that made sense, you know, and like, what are they going to do? Like, what's the puzzles that we're solving here? It's Zelda. There's got to be puzzles. It's Zelda. So, yeah, I'm sure this took a great deal of time. You could feel it, but they did a great job.
Yep.
So you go down those stairs, and down here is a black box kung fu dojo scene, and which is that what all the levels look like, or
you definitely walk, and go up. I mean, there's some stuff that like in the background later, but they mostly are that like just
dojo stuff.
That.
Okay.
Yep.
So down here, a boy is tied to a chair, and then an amazing pixel art cutscene starts from here, and it's a Bobo and a boy circling each other, all crying and doe-eyed. And they do a lot of this camera move on these cutscenes where, like, you're getting that, like, the camera is spinning around the action, you know, to, like, give it a bunch of movement, which is really cool. And you know, as far as pixel art goes, I'm sure is on the difficult end of making that work. Yeah. But, because, you know, like, as it's happening, the view is changing at all times. So, you're not just changing the sprite's movement, you're also changing our vantage point on the sprite. So, like, it's like you can see different sides of its head and stuff sometimes. Not in every single movement, but like at different intervals through it. So it goes on an uncomfortably long time. This spin, actually. Like, it takes a really long time for this to play out. And then the Wizards and Warriors 2 Iron Sword Water Boss theme starts. After a little bit of Ganon laughter, and the Abobo goes demonic for a second. He's like, his full-on transforms after that, but like even before that happens, he like kind of gets like sharp teeth and like his red eyes.
Red,
yeah, right. But then it full-on transforms into the Amazon from Black Box Pro Wrestling, and that is what's behind me right now. And dude, I lost it, man. Like, this is the craziest acid trip of an NES sequence I've ever seen, and I could barely cope with it. Like, yeah, it's unreal pixel art of the Amazon, and he's like breaking the ties to the chair, and then he rages, hands all up in the air and shit after that. And then we cut back to the wide of the dojo, you know, Bobo in it, and then the Amazon sprite from the pro wrestling game now stands before him, he stands before him, and then he starts hovering because he's got a jetpack appears on his back. And then Abobo drops to his knees in seemingly emotional pain, I guess. The Amazon has not attacked him in any physical way.
Right.
He like flies up a little bit, and he gives Abobo the middle finger, and they are sure to highlight this. They like zoom in on it to show that it's the middle finger for sure, and you know, there's no mistaking it. And then he flies up off the screen entirely. Abobo goes into his hunched rage animation with laser red eyes, and then Amazon bellows from off screen, "I know where your son is, Abobo." Mwahahaha. Abobo looks back and forth a second, and then he does his arms flailing shocked animation thing that we see a few times in the game. And then we pan over to see he's noticed a balloon blowing up rig on the other side of the dojo. It's a helium tank connected to a couple deflated balloons on a table. And then a very puzzled expression, question mark, appears above his head. Takes him a second. He gets it eventually, and then he winds up and claps the helium tank like switch on the top with both hands to start blowing the balloons up. And once they're blown up, he ties them. They actually, like, they're yellow balloons with sad faces on them, which is a nice touch. And then he ties those around his waist, and that lifts him up off the screen after the villain of the moment. After these messages.
We'll be right back.
Will you be the one to witness the birth of the incredible Nintendo Entertainment System? The first to play with Rob, the extraordinary video robot. Batteries not included. He follows the commands you put on the screen, so you get to the dynamite before it explodes. Will you be the one to raise the incredibly accurate zapper and play games like Duck Hunt? Will you be the one to experience the Nintendo Entertainment System? Comes with Rob, zapper, control deck, 2 controllers, gyromite, and Duck Hunt.
That is the very, very, very first U.S. market NES commercial that the company ever spat out back in 1985. Nintendo, I mean, of course. And I'd never seen this, man. I found it absolutely astounding that I stumbled across it. I was trying to find a commercial for one of the black box games was my goal. Even though I expected that to be unlikely, you know. Right. Advertising for one of those games specifically would be whatever, not the most likely thing. But yeah, I wanted to pay proper tribute to what we're doing here, and like that would have been in line with it. So that was my initial thinking, and I go out looking for that. And it's funny to me how, I don't know, the universe has a way of being more poetic with its fates than any human could ever hope to it to be, or for things to be. You know, it just landed in my laps for this very special ode to the NES commemorative podcast episode. Single tear emoji for days was my thoughts. But yeah, it's just fucking. How many times have you been on YouTube for this fucking podcast and typed in the word Nintendo or some video, like the idea, and like all the time a bunch of shit comes up, compilations of commercials I'll watch, and I'm trying to hunt these commercials down. I have never seen a glimmer of this commercial, and it just blew my fucking mind. So yeah, I guess that makes the likelihood it's semi-obscure, I think, safe to say. So if you have not seen that, I would recommend giving it a look. I mean, it's just funny because it just highlights how much they were trying to push the stupid Rob robot thing, because exactly, yeah, that, it's such a weird, that it's a playset. It is 100% in line with that whole MO. We all know their early marketing was about like not making it a video game system out of fear that a video game system would fucking be just shunned without even giving it any shot. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's very prominent in there for sure. Back to Abobo's Big Adventure. We are now working into our Pro Abobo part of the game. And coming out of that dojo shit we just talked about, we cut to a play screen from Balloon Fight. And this is another black box classic where Abobo stands on a suspended platform as the Amazon flies over his head and starts talking shit, which he does a lot of in this level. He says, "Ha! Let's see your stupid balloons keep up with my jetpack, Abobo." And then you assume control of Abobo, and you have to give chase to the left as you navigate a game of Balloon Fight. And I was playing this, man, and like Balloon Fight's one that to be, like, you can get that in the original Animal Crossing, so I had to have played it on there. Mm-hmm. Like, I had to have played this game before, but it's little enough that I don't remember it. Again, going back to the early thing I said in this episode, like, I don't have the muscle memory for it for sure. So yeah, this is tough. This was fucking tough. This was a really tough stage. So much first. And I think it's meant to be that way too, because I don't know if you noticed it, but when you get to and maybe it's not there the first time, but when you get to the next part of this, after you finish this, it tells you can skip this next time. Like, if you go to the level select and pick Pro Abobo, you will start here, but you can I can't think of what it is offhand, but you can hit a button and skip this and go straight to the wrestling shit. So they know that I didn't even know about, but yeah, I am super glad about. And I guess they said they added that in. I don't know if you know this, but they said they added it in because like later. People
just
Couldn't
hated
do
this level, they would stop and quit here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay.
That's acknowledging the user base's need for modern conveniences is probably good game design, modern game design. Even if it wasn't present back in 1985 or whatever year you want to put some of this happening in.
I mean, that said, after the first time of kind of going through this and actually getting a feel
once I
for
knew
it,
what
then
to
I was
do.
fine. Then I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. Just the first time, I was just like, what
it
the?
actually is pretty fun too. Like once you kind of, I don't know, I want to say master maybe, but like really get down the way it works and what you need to do and what you need to be. Because there's things in here that like I just didn't even like. It'll happen. You're like, fuck, I didn't know that was gonna happen. Like I didn't know that was how that worked or whatever. You know, like so you gotta figure all that shit out and get familiar with it to enjoy this for sure. Because there's plenty of shit that can fuck you in here.
It's like, oh, the green balloons give you lots of rage. You don't like you want to get those. Like they're not just to give you another balloon.
Exactly, which is what the first time through I was only worried about them if I was missing a balloon. But yeah, you want that rage for sure because it clears out all the bullshit. Even like even the spinny things and like any sort of gun turret. Yeah, wastes everything. So like I would try this my second time through. I was trying to save them until the Amazon guy came on screen. So I could get everything and him all in one fell swoop, you know.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't trying to get a bop on top of him and deal with some sort of environmental shit was just a huge pain in the ass. That was, not worth it. If you could do it with rage, for sure. So yeah, it uses kind of very similar to Super Mario Brothers water level.
Yeah,
shit.
I've been thinking
it
the
uses
same
that
thing.
the same tap inertia. Float and fall kind of bullshit. And yeah, there's way more to deal with environmentally here than in Super Mario Brothers. So of course it is more frustrating to not have total control over your movement for so much shit going on. But the goal here, other than just surviving a lot of that shit buzzing around you on the screen, is to pop down onto Amazon's dome piece each time he pokes out from screen left to talk shit and pop off a spread shot at you. So some of the things I wrote down that he said that are kind of fun I thought to go through. He'll say, apparently you mistook my head as a footstool. Bad, Abobo. Bad. Another one is hogwash. You, sir, are a charlatan and a reprobate, which has got to be that's from a specific
something.
movie.
I've heard that.
Yeah, it's definitely from something. Some slapsticky comedy, probably like Princess of the Bride or something is my guess. No,
I would know that. I would know if it was from
that's
that.
Another movie I don't care for. I was arguing with Amy about that the other day. She was also appalled that I feel that way. I know everyone is. I don't like it. I don't like slapstick comedy, dude. I don't like it. Fuck off,
Josh.
Put some thought into your comedy.
I don't like slapstick.
I don't want to watch you slip on banana peels for 90 minutes. I don't do it.
That is not slapstick. I would not classify that as slapstick. Because I don't like slapstick comedy either. But I love The Princess Bride.
I don't know. Princess Bride and Austin Powers are the exact.
Are you sure you're thinking about the right movie? I feel like you're thinking about the right movie. Right?
Yes, Andre the Giant. Yes, it's the right movie. I'm thinking of the right movie. Yes. Yes, it is the exact same kind of comedy.
Oh my gosh, no. We're going to have this discussion.
Slapstick is probably wrong, but it is super close. It is slapstick adjacent, is what maybe a better way to say it. It is definitely not well thought out, well designed,
great quotes,
multi-level
such
comedy.
Great
It
quotables.
is not intelligent comedy. It is not.
I think pop culture completely disagrees with you, Josh. They have spoken.
Probably. I would be the first in line to say I don't agree with the masses on mostly everything. So that's no surprise to any podcaster that's made it 100 episodes either, or any podcast listener rather. Laura Sable that's made it 100 episodes and knows that I am a dickhead that is not thinking like the fucking normal dude. Anyways, everyone gets lucky now and then. Even complete morons like you is another one. Mm-hmm. He also says, or actually one of them he rattles off the Konami code.
Oh,
in full.
Yeah.
But instead of start being the final thing, he closes out with fart.
Yeah.
So just a fun little thing. Which is very slapsticky.
That's true.
But a lot of this is actually. In a video game, like, you have to be this simple. And that's the thing. And cinema allows you a lot more freedom to do more with comedy.
Fair. Which
is why I expect more out of it, and Austin Powers isn't funny. But, what the ... where the hell did that come from is one he says that is probably one of the weaker ones. Another one is, and I don't know exactly what to do with this. I'm guessing maybe it's a quote as well, but I'm not sure. Back off, man. I'm a scientist. Like, is that from like maybe Back to the Future? Is maybe a and I don't say that just because it's got the word back in it, but it sounds like something that
It's
maybe
definitely from something. But
Doc could say or something.
Yeah, that sounds. I don't know. I have to look that one up.
And then the last one, again, this one's even more obscure and just gotta be from a movie. It's 23 minutes past the hour, and now here's the Buckinghams with Kind of a Drag, and it's got to be from like Monty Python is what would be my guess. You know, something else I don't like.
Fair, I'm right with you on that one.
Yeah. Not only slapstick, but British slapstick, which is like two things I hate. British humor does not land on me well, for the most part. The special rage attack is Abobo tucking into a ball and spewing laser beams in every direction as the word Death Blossom appears real big on the screen. And it's fun, but they don't. A lot of them don't have that. And when I saw that, I was like, I'm surprised they didn't do more of that. Like naming it,
Yeah.
and doing it kind of almost like Batman-y, kind of like bam. It's kind of like what it is, Obviously not a fucking onomatopoeia, but not far from. Very literal explanation of what you're seeing already is kind of the point, I think, And they could have done more of that. I think it would have been fun. Some of the enemies here are the flying medallion faces from Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. At least I think that's what that's from. The faces on a flame kind of thing. Mm-hmm. There's Lakidus from SMB chucking spiny eggs at you, which are pretty fun. There's the Excite Bike dudes are hilarious to me. Like they're just on pedestals and they'll just
start spinning. What?
Yeah, they do a wheelie off the platform and just fucking fly at you. It's pretty fun. It's from Kid Icarus, but it's the Jason masked Reaper characters. Mm-hmm. So it's like a mashup, I guess, of some kind. Those are here, and that's a perfect example of one like you never guess what it's going to do to you as you fly by, like shooting those fucking little dudes out at you. Like if you don't kill them right away, you just never see that coming. And if you don't kill him right away, prioritize that he's down on the platform. So you're like, I don't need to deal with that. He's on a platform. Fuck that. I got other shit to worry about. But if you don't, you're going to pay. So that's a perfect example of like your first time through this is just going to be really difficult, I think.
Yeah. And they even pull from one of my favorite games, Xevious, like the spaceship things. Like,
is that what those
awesome
were?
Is that? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
I love that game.
In customary form of like a flying shmup game like this. Kind of. It's not really shmup, but kind of in that vein. Like there's to me, some of them were just like red. I'm sure I knew they were from something. That's everything in the game is. But they seem to me just like miscellaneous enemies. Kind of. I didn't know what they were from. So, but yeah, I'm not a Xevious fan either. So that's why I didn't get that one. The last notable one I had was the Grim Reaper from Castlevania here. So, actually, multiple of the Castlevanias is kind of the same sprite.
Yep.
So that's good. Yeah, it's complete fucking Nintendo chaos in this level. It is just
so much
mayhem, dude. Absolute fucking
survive in advance.
Very difficult. They are kind of, once you know that balloon thing, like you said, they are pretty generous with those. So you can rage a lot once you know and you're prioritizing getting those. So that's again a little bit of an advanced player easing up of the difficulty that you can get to. Eventually, the cycle will come to an end after a long boss approach and lull kind of feel thing. You'll like the ground platform will drop out like that shit. You get to the end of that and you're just floating over space for a while, and then the Amazon pokes back out and he says, "Nice try, Abobo, but my jetpack will never run out." But my jetpack will never run out of fuel. And then immediately thereafter, the jetpack sputters and he wails as he plummets down the screen. And Abobo, of course, follows, and then we cut to I might not even actually show him following, to be honest with you, but it cuts to a wide of a domed sports arena in some big city, a la Silverdome or something, or Minneapolis. What's the one in Minneapolis? The Metrodome, I think it was called. But one of those domes that the WWF events would have happened in back in the late 80s, early 90s for sure. Yep. And little dots come floating down from above that are highlighted, kind of like with the middle finger zoom in thing. They're highlighted with those to show it's the Amazon that's slamming down into the pavement out front of the arena, and then Abobo follows him in the same fashion. He doesn't slam down, but we see Abobo trailing behind him. And then we fade to a closer view out front of the arena, and just this one, the one behind you right now is pretty good too. But this view out front of the arena, of all the incredible sprite work and visuals you get in this game, and like cinematics are all fucking amazing. But there's so much happening in this frame that this might be the funnest one in the game, I think. So we have matchup banners. It's the front of the arena, like I said, and it's matchup banners that would hang out front of a boxing match arena or something, of a Bobo on the left and Amazon hanging on the right there. And then down below those is just a veritable who's who of NES personas hanging out, waiting for the show to start, right? Like, so we got Gizmo from Gremlins 2. We got the slumped and dead Jason from Friday the 13th's in-game screen. Like, he's like dead up against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yo Noid, or I should say, Noid. And then Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden. We have Simon Belmont from Castlevania, of course. We have Samus in her full suit look, which I think is a real fun choice. They have Boy and his blob here in the top left, and the boy is dead on the ground, and the blob is just standing there next to him, or whatever, bopping there next to him, you know. And do you know what the skeleton on the left is from?
No.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was from either. No. I'm not sure, but it's kind of.
It looks familiar.
Yeah, for sure. It's not Castlevania. It's a little more cartoony and fun than a Castlevania skeleton would look. But I don't know what it's from. But that's there next to there's a hole in the ground, a crater that the Amazon is slammed down into, so the skeleton is next to that. And then the last one is the blue slime from Dragon Warriors over on the right-hand side. And yeah, it's total bedlam visually, and such an amazing image, and I think it's a great tone setter for what is going to be an absolutely wild sequence here for the next few minutes, you know. So very good choice design-wise. So the Amazon climbs up out of the impact crater he slammed down into and heads into the arena before Abobo slams down onto... So, like, after he goes in the arena, the Amazon, as Abobo is coming down, the little scientist from Gyromite comes waddling out. He's sleepwalking. And he, like, waddles onto screen, and Abobo lands down on top of him, presumably killing him, of course. Yeah. And then, after Abobo lands, he, like, stands there for a second, I think, and then the two yellow balloons come down, and they're deflated, and one of them lands on his face, and he like throws it off his face to the ground, and then he heads inside, and after he does that, the fucking Duck Hunt dog pops his head up out of the crater, and he does that snicker that everyone, you know, iconic snicker, and in reply to that skeleton that we don't know what the fuck it's from vapes him with laser beams from his eyes, the dog, right? You know, it doesn't just vaporize him either. He like fries his head so it's all charred and black, and then the dog like goes back down after that, you know. So just again, another one of those things, like getting back at the things that have been haunting you from the NES for decades.
Like, shut up, dog.
Yep. I mean, how many kids have walked up to the screen and just put the zapper on the fucking screen? I wish I could
shoot that dog.
Yeah, every kid said it, motherfucker. Probably more like, motherfucker, so your parents don't hear. So you go inside the Tickety matchup theme. Scores a main event matchup card for the heavyweight title bout that comes up, and then gives us the pro wrestling controls instructions, so we're properly equipped for this boss battle. Then you got to do straight up pro wrestling match against this fucker, and it's just like the good old days. And you know, haven't played it a ton, but I know the game enough to have some vague idea. I still didn't know exactly how to do all the stuff. And I guess maybe if I looked closer at the fucking controls, which I certainly didn't give as much credit as I probably should have, maybe I would have had a better understanding. But I spent a lot of this kind of just like, I tried to figure out the best spam solution and just stuck with that. I don't know. What was your wrestling experience like?
Man,
were you using the ropes and like, I didn't do any of that shit.
Oh yeah, I was definitely after a while, but like it took a while, man. Like for a while I was just spamming, trying to kick and stuff because he was whooping my ass at first. Yeah. Like it was so frustrating.
He does not
like
fuck around.
trying to actually do the moves, but he was just punch down, bite, wrap his tongue around my neck and do the spin thing.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like Dude.
Yeah, I didn't remember all that cool shit. The Amazon.
Well, no,
yeah,
that's a new thing. The tongue around the neck and the throw. That was a special animation that they added in.
Oh, okay.
That's not in a normal game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I assumed it was all from the game. So yeah, but the bite thing I remembered for sure.
Yeah, the bite, absolutely.
Yep.
That's his thing.
So he does
so annoying.
Those
I
two
hate
things.
it when he does
And
that.
yeah, he can throw you out of the ring with that tongue shit too. So it's not always, but sometimes he can get you out of the ring with that. And that, of course, yeah, I don't think there's a way to voluntarily go outside the ring. I think you have to get thrown.
I think so too.
I'm pretty
so
sure.
you didn't climb on the top ropes or anything?
Yeah,
like that?
as I was saying the bounce of the ropes, I was like, I didn't think to jump, to climb, then I bet you can do that too. See, I didn't try that. I'm sure you get an achievement for that. Yeah.
If
Some
you can
achievement
land that, it actually does a lot more damage. Because like I was obviously my punches and stuff were taking so.
Yeah, he doesn't
little
stay
damage.
down that long. Like I would think that would be super tough. Yeah, I was trying to get into. I would get into loops or not loops, but I was trying to get him down with a kick. And then once he's on the ground, if you really hammered the buttons, you could pull him up and suplex him 2 or sometimes 3 times in a row before he could gain any control again. And that was the best loop I would try to get into. And I would still get popped sometimes. It wasn't at all reliable.
Yeah.
Continuously, but it was the thing that most frequently was able to get a little bit of life out of him. But yeah, 2 achievements I did get here. You can murk the ref. Did you do that?
Yeah, I did that. Yeah.
So you murk the ref, and he just dies. You get a fucking achievement. Doesn't change anything. But when you're outside, you can go get those chairs too. Yeah. And smash chair over his fucking head for sure, and that also gets you an achievement. Also does some nice damage too, But you can't I thought maybe that's WrestleMania, but I thought one of the tricks of this game I thought was getting the guy counted out. It's like a 20-second count outside the ring. I think that's in the original game, right?
There's definitely an aspect, but that's just not.
Yeah, they don't count here. So yeah,
I did the same thing. I went out and I was like, "Oh, they're not counting." I guess.
I thought for sure that's what would be the
but
angle.
that's probably the thing. They're like, "Nope, right. You're not."
Just like Double Dragon, like
that,
we're gonna subvert your cheese expectations, and we're gonna make you do something else here. So yeah, I totally support everything they do, but that too. Yeah. But yeah, they got me. I guess is maybe the better way to say it.
For
they got
sure.
Me.
So I ended up spamming, throwing him against the ropes and clotheslining his ass over and over again.
Really?
That would get him down on the ground where I could actually do a couple body slams before he could interrupt me. I never actually landed an off the top rope because I didn't focus on it. I was just wanting to win, but I definitely tried it a couple times, but he just, you gotta get him, you gotta work him over into the corner more. And once you slam him down, then you can go up there.
Yeah, I guess maybe if you're closer, maybe, yeah.
But I definitely missed.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even try that. Again, so many reasons to play it again. Mm-hmm. Even after 2 full playthroughs. Great. So you get him down to no life. When you get him down to no life, you automatically enter a rage attack mode, and upon executing that, you get him up for a suplex. You jump all the way off the screen as you bring him up and over, and then you come back down for a rocket impact onto the mat, and then the pretty much coolest shit ever happens. Abobo raises his hands to the sky, harnessing the most bodacious of WWF juju of yesteryear, and he makes a wrestler appear in each of the 4 corners. We have the Ultimate Warrior in the top left, Roddy Piper in the top right, the Undertaker in the bottom left, and lastly, but hella not leastly, Hulk Hogan in the bottom right. And you better believe it, brother! Bobo graciously steps aside from the Amazon laying on the ground there. So each of these wrestlers, one by one, can then execute the most devastating move from their arsenal. So the Warrior, do you want to tell us about the Warrior, given that's your favorite wrestler, Jay?
I mean, I love the Ultimate Warrior. He, as you would hope, does his signature move. He presses you up in the air behind you. Oh, I love that move.
Was that always the thing to drop him behind him like that? I know
he always
drops
does that.
him
Presses
behind
you up in the air and then drops you behind.
Very
then runs
cool.
off the ropes.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's he does the presses and then but even before he drops him though, he plays to the crowd for a second. He does the full show. Yeah, really, really cool.
Love it.
Yeah. He does that and then he also tacks on a bounce off the ropes. He does the flying body splat. I don't know. What do you call that?
I don't even know. Just a splash, a flying splash. You just off the ropes, steps over you off the other ropes, and then jumps and just lands his body on top of you. Yeah. Typically, that's the end. But wait, there's more.
All 3 of them are coming. Yeah, Roddy runs up. He drags him up from the mat, slugs him in the face a few times, just real bar fight style, of course. And I that's funny. I was thinking about this, and I was like, I don't really have any like distinct memories of Roddy Piper wrestling. You know, I feel like, I don't know if I have any distinct memories of any wrestler wrestling, really. I didn't watch enough of it for long enough, and I haven't rewatched any of it as an adult, really, to have like any specific memories of wrestling. But I feel like I just didn't see much of Roddy Piper for whatever reason. So I had no idea what his like special move should be or anything. I had no idea, because he does the sleeper after he punches him, and I was like, I didn't remember, like, I had no idea what he was going to do at all. Like, I knew The Undertaker was going to do the fucking tombstone.
Yep.
I knew Hulk Hogan was going to do the flying leg smash, because those guys are in the Genesis game that I do know pretty well. You know, Royal
That's
Rumble,
a funny thing, too. Even from watching wrestling, because I was big into it when I was, like, a kid, I couldn't tell you what Roddy Piper's special move is, like, what his move is either. Like, I don't know if he just always lost. Like, I mean, he didn't always lose, but I couldn't have told you that. Maybe he didn't really have one. I don't know.
He does the sleeper, so I would guess that was his thing, you know.
I thought that was just like a general move everybody did, though. But maybe
that was his
originated it.
I mean, there was no move that someone, maybe in a lot of cases with like a slight tweak to make it unique for them, like the perfect plex instead of a suplex. But
yeah, that's true.
There was
why
no
I
move.
The sleeper. It was like,
they had so many fucking moves that every move was somebody's special move, you know. Or they had so many wrestlers, I should say, that every move was a special move for someone. But yeah, he does the sleeper. It's fucking great. He does the fucking arm thing, and then he drops the mat with like the Z's coming out of him, and he's sitting there slumped. So that's going on. Roddy steps back. The Undertaker comes out, stomps his fucking head a few times while he's sleeping, and then picks him up to execute the tombstone pile driver, of course. And then after he's done, he even he does the thing where he sits there for a second, looks around, and then crosses his arms before getting back up. Yeah, really cool touch. And then we get Hulk. And Hulk gets him up off the mat, sends him into the ropes, drops him with like the full heel kick. Yeah, boot to the face. Yeah. Like the heel of it too. Like the bottom heel, fucking all the way up. And then he heads into the ropes himself to come in with the patented flying leg drop to finish him off. Or I shouldn't say finish him off, because Abobo's coming still. And yes, Abobo steps up to finish the job. He picks him up, and he jumps him straight up into the air again. And our view leaves the arena entirely. And Abobo keeps rocketing up with Amazon over his shoulder, up and out of Earth's atmosphere, all the way up to a great space shot in front of the moon before starting to come back down towards the mat. And as he's re-entering Earth's atmosphere, the two of them burst into a ball of flames like a spaceship would, re-entering the atmosphere. And because he comes down with that, like, it's like an asteroid then, when he lands, it incinerates everything. The arena, the crowd, the other wrestlers, you name it, and it leaves a huge hole in the middle of the mat. And you can even cuts to outside the fucking arena, and you see like the surroundings to the arena are in flames, you know. So he just annihilates everything doing this. And from there, we don't go back inside the arena yet. We cut to the beginning of the Mega Man stage that we're about to go into, and Amazon's body falls down onto these spikes that are sticking out from the wall, and is impaled there for the finishing move, for sure. And then we cut to a black card, and the Abobo standing there above the words, "A winner is you," and that must be a joke too, maybe from pro wrestling or something. I don't know, but that's got to be a joke. Yeah. It's too weird and specific to not be. And he raises his arms like the fucking champ that he is. And then we cut back to the ring, and Abobo belly flops into the hole after. I don't know about after. He knows he's dead, I guess. Or he thinks he's dead, I suppose. Maybe not. I don't know. But he goes into the hole, and we are moving into the next stage. And this is Mega Bobo! And like when this first popped up, I was like, oh, Jay is going to fucking lose his shit when this comes on. Was I correct? Did you lose your shit when this came on?
I mean, I freaking love that. And I love that, like, I absolutely hated this part, like in Mega Man. I hated because you had to go through it I remember being a kid.
Like, oh, you mean the one-hit death things?
Yeah, like the laser things. Yeah. Like this stage, I think it might have been the first time I ever played Mega Man 2.
Is this? Is it a stage? Is it? Yeah, or is it just
this is absolutely a part of a stage, like from Mega Man. Absolutely.
Yeah, it felt like some it had to be some of a match, somewhat of a mashup.
Oh, this is 100%, because the only difference is instead of like, because, and this is my interpretation, because this was such a fucking hated stage so much, it took me so many tries to learn the patterns of where the lasers came out so that I didn't die through here, they actually made it a little easier. Like there's like a delay with the creatures or whatever it is that like shoots the lasers here. So it's not nearly as like unforgiving as the Mega Man. So I was like, oh my gosh, like A, I kind of know which way things are coming, but B,
yeah,
like,
they're definitely in
like
patterns
evil,
that I once I saw them the one time.
Yeah,
I think there were two spots. The first one where you drop down and you still have to jump to get over that little pedestal. Like, and you got to do a small, if you do a big jump, you got to do a small jump, or you're going to get hit in the fucking head. So that one, of course, because there's just no way, you can't do it perfectly. You have to jump. So it's not even dependent on knowing it. You're going to have to execute a half jump, and that's just not always an easy thing to do. So, especially when you're all fucking pressed, So, yeah, that part was tough. And there was one more, I think, the one where you got to like go down and then go back to the left again. And if you don't let the problem is, you're trying to go back left as you fall off the thing above it. And what often will happen is you start holding left too early and you run back on the platform instead of falling off the edge, and then you're fucked. Yeah. You're behind schedule and you're fucked, Yeah. So those two spots are very, very tough. But yeah, I was wondering whether was it an exact carbon copy of a full level or just was it a mashup? And I don't remember the levels well enough to know that.
I think it's just like a carbon copy of part of the level. Definitely not the full level. Definitely not the full level, but like
they use the score from Quickman, so I'd guess there's probably some Quickman stuff in there, Quickman level stuff in there, I should say. And I bet, the Quickman track, like I was thinking, I bet this. Because the Mega Man 2 soundtrack is such a fucking banger, Like, choosing which song you're going to use from Mega Man in a situation where you can only use one is probably a real bitch.
How did you?
Yeah, so I bet this was one of the longest. That's a great question to jot down for the boys, if I can wrangle them for an order of verdict, is how long was this the hardest track to choose from a game?
Right.
Hopefully I'll remember to do that in my question list. It's also, I would say, on top of being a great track, it's also one of the funner Abobo sprites. I would say, right there with Legend of Zelda's is one I really like too. But, it's Abobo in the Mega Suit, but it's not just the Mega body. His chest is like inflated and puffed out in the way you would want or expect Abobo's to be. And then, he's got the helmet on his head, but Abobo's head is like real big, of course. Huge, and like his face is like sticking out of the helmet, you know what I mean? In a very contoured way. It's really cool.
It's a fun mashup.
Yeah. Little tweaks are made in here to some traditional Mega Adversary grunts. The first thing you encounter is one of those springy things, and they put on top of it, instead of like that little just metal cap thing, it's a piranha plant head, and they call it a Spirana, which is fun. We have a Dino Roller that is one of the fire-breathing dragons from Dig Dug, but it's on wheels, so that's pretty cool. I have a soft spot for Dig Dug, so I like that they gave that a little bit of shine, that between that and the Dig Dug protagonist appearance in Legend of Zelda. And they have these big bipedal walker robots that are now manned by Bub, which is the Bubble Bobble dinosaur, or one of them, I should say. And then I really like the other one that was really cool to me, the big robot ducks that spit out the Dr. Mario viruses. Like, they're like giant Dr. Mario virus sprites, which is cool. There are also plenty of straight up cameos in here. There's Gizmo Duck from DuckTales. There is the Pumpkinhead Boss from Monster Party, one of your early game eps. That's a nice fucking throwback. I did not expect to see in this game, No. So again, they're just covering all bases really with this. There is the tank, which is Sophia, and the kid, Jason, from Blaster Master as well. And your special attack here is, honestly, I was kind of disappointed. It's one of the more basic bitch ones in the game. I thought they could have put some more love into this, I thought. But it's just a big-ass energy blast that comes from your Mega Buster. Takes up most of the screen. There's nothing really that impressive about it comparatively. But it kind of looks
like... I mean, it kind of looks to me... And I kind of liked it, because it kind of reminds me of, like, the Street Fighter 2 or Super Street Fighter 2, like Ryu's Super Blast. Okay. Like, you could do his regular, like, Hadouken, but then, like, when he had a power-up or something, it was like that, almost like a Marvel versus Capcom kind of, like, that's what it reminded me of, so I was okay with it. Okay. I like it.
So maybe that's the problem. It's
referencing something.
Yeah, I didn't check the nostalgia box for me. I was a Mortal Kombat kid. I didn't fuck with Street Fighter much, so I don't have much nostalgia love for Street Fighter. One of my few gripes about this game rears its head here. Like I said, there's only 3 of them really. I've already said the one. It's a problem here. It's a problem in Contra. The natural usage of your buttons for this game has you frequently hitting both the A and B buttons together. You're jumping and holding the jump button and then sliding your thumb over to hit the B button. The problem with this is when you drop in the fact that you need to use A and B, or when you hit A and B in this game, when you have your rage meter full, that's what uses your fucking rage attack. So that means I'm wasting it in this level a lot of times when I don't want to be. And this happens in Contra a lot too, because you're obviously jumping constantly in Contra and then shooting at all times. So you're holding B and just hitting A as you're holding B. So in both cases, both levels, I wasted the fucking special attack so many times. It pissed me off.
Interesting. Yeah. I never experienced that.
Really?
I never.
You don't hold
maybe once or twice, but like, I guess maybe I was getting hit more often. So like once I got rage, I was very conscious of everything after that, you know?
Right. I mean, I knew it was a problem and I would try to, but dude, you're in the thick of it with a fucking Mega Man or Contra situation. You got too much to deal with to be fucking
I guess that's, maybe that's why. I mean, maybe that's just my skill at Mega Man too, because like I didn't really have much of a problem on this level. Like, so
I wouldn't say I had a problem. I'm just saying I'm wasting the fucking rage attack.
Yeah. Well, meaning I didn't even have an opportunity to do that. Either I didn't get rage, or like I had it and I was just like, "Yep, no, fine," and pretty much to do.
Yeah, no, I'm a tactician, bro. I wasn't getting hit at all. I'm fucking going through here and not taking any licks.
And I found out the funny thing is the part that I told you, like, oh, it's more forgiving, like the blast when immediately come across the screen. It's because lightsabers is what they come out of.
Yep.
Instead of just like blast with lightsabers or the guns.
Some are laser tag guns.
Laser tag, yeah.
And fucking some of them are
what?
lightsabers.
That is so fun. Yeah.
Super fun.
Because the first time I went through, I was just kind of jumping, not paying attention. I was like, oh, they're taking the time. Now it's like pausing. Oh, I see what those are.
Yeah. Very cool. Nice. Agreed. And yeah, I mean, including that, like, you know, this level starts and I know that's coming. You know, it's like that's like one of the most iconic, difficult, frustrating things about Mega Man 2. You know it's going to be in here. So when it comes on the screen, I'm like, oh, yeah, I knew that was fucking coming. But you do have to appreciate, I think it felt perfectly on brand. You know, it felt exactly like it does in the game. So good on them for that. The boss battle here is the fucking dope show, and they even give you the wonderful feeling of the screen freezing as you jump through the gates. And like to go into the hallway and then come out of it before the boss, like everyone jumps and the screen freezes.
Always. Yeah. Why do we do that?
I don't know why do we do that, but they fucking had it in here, and you don't think to do that unless you have that in you as well, you know, which is great. It's really great. So once inside the arena, you are treated to a 2-phase boss battle. First pitting you against a Mega Bobo clone called Robo Bobo. And that's a tongue twister and a half. Once you stunt on that hoe, he transforms into Mega Bobo or Mecha Bobo. And a much larger and more destructive bot is what he is. Robo Bobo starts with a one-off, all-for-fun attack of calling down Dr. Wily from the sky and chucking him at you. With like his arms are flailing and he's fucking like kind of freaking out as he flies across the screen. So that's pretty fun and only happens at the beginning. And after that, he bops around with the same mechanics as your sprite and fires off 2 types of projectiles. A giant Metal Man gear. He also calls down from above. And then he's got
the regular weapon.
Yeah, pea shooter Mega Buster bullets that he will pop off both from the ground and while he's jumping. So you got to kind of time those out and stay between them. And same for the Metal Man thing. It's pretty... Once you get the timing down, it's pretty much an every time thing.
Yep.
So when you work his life meter down to nil, he's electrocuted by a blue electrical charge, and he slumps to the ground for a beat. And then he jumps up over top of you, and then quickly transforms into his next form. And this cat is probably maybe 3 times the size of Mega Bobo. And he can transform into a pool of liquid to move around the floor, including beneath you. And he only takes damage in his head. So shooting his body does nothing to him. And his attacks are, his head will fly off and around the room. It will try to kamikaze into you at first, and then it'll stop on one side of the room and shoot off some of these energy attacks that are... Both his bullets are super fast, actually. The speed picks up big time in his projectiles relative to the first phase of the boss. And after the head fires those off, it will do one kamikaze thing across the screen again, and then fly back onto his head, or onto his body, rather. And then he alternates that attack with simply firing a large like beam thing from his arm cannon that is also comes in pretty hot. Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, the first time, a few times through. The second time, I died once and came back in. It's not cake, but like any Mega Man battle, once you kind of figure out the things, you get there.
You get the pattern, you're good.
Yeah, good. Captured that feeling, I think, pretty well. So you finish him off. Each of his arms and legs will blow up one at a time, dropping his head and torso to the ground before his mouth drops open, and we cut to a cinematic. Here we get that spinning camera move that I talked about already, and it comes to rest on Mecha Bobo's face. A green printout neatly comes spitting out of his mouth, kind of like a tongue, before dropping out of frame. Or out of his head, rather, and out of frame. And then Mega Bobo picks it up, and we cut to a close-up of the form, or the printout, that reads, Status, Abobo currently being transported through jungle. Objective, prevent Abobo from proceeding to jungle. Mission, failed. And then there's a line of text that reads, Error, Johnny 5 is alive. Need input, system shutdown. And then a bunch of unintelligible characters before we pan to a map showing the route from this battleground, probably like a Wily's Castle type compound, through the jungle into Abobo marked on the map. And that Johnny 5 is alive, need input jargon is a reference to Short Circuit, which I just rewatched like a week ago, dude, which I had not watched in forever.
What?
Nice. Yeah, fucking awesome. I hadn't seen it in so long. I am actually doing a flick in New Jersey in August with Steve Gutenberg again. So it was like literally just in whatever fucking celebration of that, getting to work with him again. Then I watched this. It was also on Canopy, which is an app I'm all fucking hung up on for streaming now. Do you have that? Do you have Canopy?
I don't even know what that is.
Oh my god, Canopy is
not signing up for another streaming service.
Bro, listen, it's free. It's free.
Of course it is now.
No. If you have it's a library card thing. If you have a library card, a public library card, it gives you access to this. So you get like 40 movie tickets a month. You can watch any movie. And dude, they have the full A24 library. They have all the award movies. They have it's not like bullshit obscure like old movies that you would expect a library to have on the shelves. Yeah, it's like legit
side eye.
What's that?
I'm side eyeing what you're saying. Okay,
yeah,
dude, expected old.
Yeah, no, it's fucking great, dude. So yeah, and it's free. All you need is a library card. And dealing with library stuff is a little clunky, but the app itself is like it doesn't look like it was built. It's definitely not built by a library, I guess, is why. The sign up for the library card is clunky because you're dealing with the fucking library, but the actual app is like super streamlined, and it has fucking smart TV apps and Apple TV apps and the app on your phone and all that shit. It's all very clean. Yeah, I highly recommend it. Canopy with a K, Kanopy. Very good. But yeah, I watched it on there. And it's cool that they're referencing That's a perfect example. Short Circuit's not even like it's a Disney movie, I think.
It's great.
Actually, no, it's not a Disney movie. It's like whatever. It's some sort of small independent studio at the time, like Canon Films or something like that. But if you were a kid of that time, you knew Short Circuit, dude. Short Circuit was a movie I had on VHS cassette from a grandma mixtape that I watched the fuck out of. So yeah, that movie was big for me as a little kid. So we then cut to an action movie pump up montage of shirtless Abobo getting his combat gear drip on fleek. He's tying his combat boots. He's sheathing his spatula instead of a Rambo knife in his belt sheath. And then he's tying his red headband, very Rambo style. And then it is just a senselessly inane nod to 80s action flicks. Abobo just burning through a bandolier of armor with his machine gun, teeth clenched, which is the image behind me right now. And then we get the short little title cue from Contra. And we cut to the first level of Contra. And Contra is a lot of the usual shit here. It's just the first level in the jungle. But they pepper in some extra shit too, of course. We have zombies from a horror game, and maybe that's Friday the 13th?
I actually don't know what that's from at all.
Yeah, they don't look like they're not the color palette that they are in Friday the 13th, but they behave kind of the same way. So I don't know if that is supposed to be those, and they just couldn't adhere. I don't know. I mean, this shouldn't have the NES color palette limitations, but I'm not sure what those are from exactly.
I just assume they're from some game that I didn't play.
Wasn't into, yeah. Maybe they might actually be Ghosts and Goblins. That looks like a color palette that could very well be Ghosts and Goblins, and I just don't remember it. because that was the very first game map we ever did, and you weren't even part of it, thankfully for you. So it's been a while since I played Ghosts and Goblins. As I said at the end of that fucking game, I will never play that again. So I don't recall what the fucking zombie sprites look like in the game. But there's those. There is Rambo, like the actual Rambo guy from the Rambo game. He's guarding the first bridge. Mm-hmm. And then there's the Toxic Avenger. He's trolling around in the lagoon below. So yeah, he's a pain in the ass. Actually, you want to because it's just like in Contra. Like if you dawdle at all, getting over that bridge, it blows up.
Going down.
Yeah, you're going down there. So like it is a huge problem to go down there and have to deal with his ass. He's got a bunch of HP, and in the water, you're obviously limited. It's pretty fucked. And there's more shit. If you like go right to get away from him, which is what you naturally do, there's a bunch of shit over there that complicates it even more. So ideally, you want to get over the bridge, just like in Contra, I suppose, and not deal with him. There is a polar bear from another game I can't place. Like I honestly wanted to think of it as like the Coke bear.
That's what I was thinking too.
Okay, yeah. So maybe it's not even a video game thing. It's just a pop culture reference. And then RoboCop is a stationary bullet sponge you encounter pretty late in the stage. And then you also have the mini boss before the final is Jason. Like Jason outside of the cabins. Like the Jason you encounter on the paths in Friday the 13th, not the one you encounter in the cabins. But after that is the boss battle, and they spared no expense packing this fucking level in general. The special attack has some decent shit going on with it too. You do, like your sprite like dematerializes, and I'm pretty sure they're referencing Predator with that. Did you get that?
I thought that could be it. I wasn't sure.
It felt like the invisible mode for Predator is what that read to me.
That's fair.
But he disappears in one way or another, and then a fucking massive bomber plane flies through the screen and drops bombs. All it just blankets the fucking space with dropping bombs, and of course frags everything it sees. And there are some pickups that are Contra native. There is the machine gun that increases your fire rate and probably does a little bit more damage. There is the fire shot, which in the original Contra you avoid. It's the shittiest one. But here, it does a shit ton more damage. So I think it's actually good to have. Yeah, I like it. And then there's also the spread gun, of course. That's the best one.
Yes.
But there is also an L you pick up.
Which is not the laser.
Right, which you assume it is, but you pick it up, and it's a fucking Lemmings gun, dude.
Right?
Yes, and this just blew my mind, man. It blew my fucking mind. I was so happy. And
that is a deep cut, right?
Yes, yes. Deep. I was just so happy inside when I saw this. So yeah, you shoot actual Lemmings, and like they're real small, and it's little green-haired things from the iconic puzzle game, if you somehow know what the fuck I'm talking about. But they impact on whatever you're shooting at, and they shoot in a straight line, and they do the damage that a thing would do. But they also bounce off of them, or bounce off of it, whatever it hits. And they start walking around on the ground for a while before exploding, just like a lemming would behave. And I couldn't tell, I wanted them to do damage when they blew up, but I don't think I ever got them to stop and blow up close enough to something to see. So I'm not sure if they do or not. I
did not pay that close of attention because like after that you would get the S or something and it was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, see, I saw this and I was like, oh man. So you have like basically like my initial impression or assumption was that you have these homing explosives.
Like they'll just walk back and forth and just explode.
So you could like shoot them onto something and then like if something appears on the same platform. So that would be really cool.
I mean, it killed everything, so I just didn't really...
Yeah, you can shoot stuff just as Contra. You shoot stuff just the same. But it would just been a really cool functionality that I wasn't able ever to discern whether it was the case or not.
I can see that.
So if you run out of lives here, I presume you did that, yes?
Yes, once. Yes. That was very sad.
Was it sad?
It was not sad afterwards, yes.
Because, yes, they do exactly what they had to do in this. Because, you one-hit death here. Like, you have a power meter, but you're one-hit death. So it's very Contra-esque in that regard. So you're, of course, going to die
you off at first, yeah.
Right,
you're like, oh, so damn, I don't have the health.
You're going to die a lot, as you should in Contra.
Yeah.
So you're going to run out of lives, probably. If you don't, it would be a bummer. Because when you do... you were offered the opportunity to continue, and Abobo's hands come up on screen, real big, holding the fucking NES controller, and it says to just enter the code. It doesn't tell you what. And yes, they want the fucking Konami code here. And you enter the Konami code, and you come back with 30 lives instead of 5 that you started with the first time. And the counter doesn't, and this is, you talk about deep cuts. This is a deep cut. The counter doesn't go to 30. No. It doesn't go any higher than 9. So it'll just show 9, but if you die more than 9 times, which is my first time playing this, I did at the boss battle, which is not cake if you don't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
It will just stay at 9 as you die until you get through 21 lives. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, because that's such a thing from the game. You only have 5 medals at the top of the screen in Contra, and when you get the 30 life code, it just stays that way until you get back down below 5 lives.
So you're just you're just lost in the sauce.
Right. You don't know exactly. You're kind of in limbo. I mean, obviously you have enough to deal if you have more than 5, but like, yeah, it's just, that's the kind of thing, man, that just like, it's obviously it's a modern game. They could have made the counter go to 30 and not even think twice about that. Like, but they just thought of everything to give you the fucking feeling that you should get when you play these games. And just, I'm gonna cry. It's so good. So fucking good. So at the end, instead of that base wall that appears that you get in the base game with the snipers up top that you can shoot a few of and then just shoot the fucking sensors, we have Krang from TMNT is waiting for us. And he's in his full bionic suit, and he's like, you still got that same mountain to use. Yep. And he's only about half the size of that. So you quickly learn that you can just stay on the top fucking platform here and just pepper his ass from there and not even put yourself at risk, really. He just walks back and forth, and he occasionally bends down to one knee and shoots off this projectile, like his hand flies off, which I think happened in the cartoons. I think that was the thing.
Oh, yeah, 100% did.
Yeah.
100%.
So he does that, and then, like I said, it's not too tough, so you drop his meter to 0. He throws his arms up in the air in anguish, and then Kirby flies in from screen left, which is like, what the fuck is going to happen now?
What are you doing here?
Yeah, what are you doing here? So Kirby flies in, and he flies right up in front of Krang's the brain and the abdomen, and then he does the sucking motion that Kirby does, and sucks the Krang brain right out of the fucking machine, eats him, and then flies into the Krang robot and assumes control of it. Just fucking amazing. And then he disappears, and a giant version of the same thing appears from below ground and comes up, and like it like occupies the entire screen, a vertical span of the screen, right? Up until like Krang or Kirby in this case, I guess, is like just above where you could shoot it from the ground level. So it's really only like a little bit below the waist, I guess. Yeah. More so than the whole sprite, but it takes up the whole screen. And this also has 2 phases. The first is about blowing up the hand arm that he will pop off in the same way he did when he was small. And that attack cycles through along with laser beams from the eyes. And then Kirby will also do, the last one is this sucking thing where it attracts one of those alien shrimps from Contra off the screen along the like horizontal span at ground level. So you basically have to be crouching down when it flies in on the ground, or it'll hit you. So,
oh, you did that. I just saw you jump to the level above. Okay.
Really? See, no, yeah, I would drop down and bend down, and basically it allows you to cheese this entirely because, well, the first phase with the arm, it's protecting Kirby's face, so you have to deal with the arm first. Basically, you can't even do any damage to Kirby's face. So you learn that you got to shoot this arm, and you can just safely lie on that little platform right in front of him as long as you crouch down at the left side of it. You can just crouch down and just spam the fucking hand because the eye beams hit the mountain before they get to you. So those can't hit you. So you're safe from those. And then when he shoots the fist, it flies up at an angle that also flies over your head. So you're literally not in any danger if you get into the spot. And I found that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I found the spot as well.
Yeah, for the first phase. And then when he does the sucking thing, you just have to remember to hit. You're already holding down, so all you got to do is hit A, and you drop to the ground, and you're still crouching because you're already holding down. So you literally, as long as you do it, the second he starts sucking, you're not at any risk. And the second it flies past and flies back out, you can jump back up and crouch down on the platform again and resume peppering his ass. So towards the end of that, Kirby will lay off that sucking shit. He'll stop doing that. And when that happens, he won't take any more damage on his sprite. You have to then direct your attacks to the laser shooting head of the robot. And same thing, you can just get in the bottom left corner where those beams can't hit you and just shoot up at an angle and just keep running back and forth in the left corner there and just hit his ass from there and never be at any risk. So if you know how to cheese it, it's super easy. But until you learn all that, this is hard as fuck. This is a very difficult battle until you learn that safe spot for sure. I don't know if you had the similar problem or not, but
I did not have any problems with this fight because, like, I mean, this is an iconic just setup where you are on Contra, so I kind of knew, like, easily to find a spot to destroy the arm. And then during this phase, like, yeah, on the middle platform, if you're lying flat, like, you can't get hit. And then whenever he did the suck, I would just jump up and just rinse, repeat. Or the second time, I just got even more bold and just actually stood on the small platform in front of Kirby, like, just right there, same thing. So either way.
Well, that's the one I'm talking about. I was on that platform the whole time. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That one, the little tiny one right in front of his face.
Yeah, I did that through the second one when I was like, okay, let me just try something different. Yep. But yeah, either way, not really a problem.
When you take that out, the whole deal crumbles down back below ground, and Kirby flies up and away to the right. Abobo follows as the stage clear theme plays. We then enter the waterfall stage of Contra, stage 2, and it's the same layout, I believe, but there is plenty of new fun shit here to make you smile. The naked River City Ransom toweling off sprite is right there at the beginning, and again, benign doesn't
in the sauna, he's just like,
yep. Bare ass.
In the waterfall instead of the sauna.
Yeah. And you, of course, can shoot him and kill him. You get an achievement for that. And Kid Icarus is here. The protagonist from Kid Icarus, I mean. There is Master Higgins from Adventure Island. And he's skateboard-enabled in this case. And then the final mini-boss is a battle with Raihu Hayabusa. And that fucker has some fast-shooting golden shuriken ammo for your ass. If you, like, just stand over there to the right and try to shoot him from afar, he will fuck your ass up. You got to get below him and spam him from below, basically, if you want to not take any damage. And then at the top of the climb, you encounter the same alien boss with the arms that you would encounter in Stage 2 of Contra. But before you can get to the cheese, where you would just stand below the last circle of the arms and they freeze as you shoot them, before you can do that, the arms lock up. And just the same, and then this Kirby sucking animation comes down from below, but like a giant version of it, and it sucks the alien down off screen. And like I like how it reacts to it too. It's total terror on its face. Its eyes gets wide, and there's a bunch of new animation there that they put in, which is cool. And then giant Kirby comes exploding up into its place, and we have our boss battle. And this definitely also took some feeling out for me. This one was also a lot of fact-finding. It took me quite a few deaths, thankfully 30 lives enabled, to figure out that I don't even need to be attacking it, really, other than those lulls after it sucks in its own ammo, basically, or its own projectiles. You're like his primary attack, it's a sucking thing where like he starts doing it, and then air currents appear along the ground coming from off screen on both sides, and they meet in the middle of the screen and then go up at his mouth. So anywhere that you're standing, you're going to get carried in the wind. You're right. So you have to and if you hit that middle, you can't even get out of it then. If you get to the middle of the screen, you get sucked up into his mouth and you die. So you need to stay out of the middle of the screen and fight against that current. But also, while that current's coming in each time, one of 3 large projectiles will come from either the right or the left, and you have to jump those while staying out of the middle, and that definitely took a while for me to get the hang of. Even though, in hindsight, it's super simple. It alternates right and left every time. There's no chance to that at all. So if you came left last time, you know it's coming right next time, and you can just stay on the other side and be at no risk. It is tough. There's a lot going on. And sometimes you can still get reshuffled there, I think, and maybe forget that in the moment. So I'm not saying it's like total cake in that regard once you know, but if you can internalize that, it certainly makes it a great deal easier because then you can just calculate it. But yeah. So these things come in, if you avoid them and they don't hit you, they will also hit the middle of the screen and get sucked up into his mouth. And then one of 3 things happen. The boulder will cause him to just swell up and fly off the screen, during which time a shadow will appear on the ground, and a beat later, a huge, it would change each time. The sprite is different each time, but it's like a a big
Like
statue,
a thinking man statue,
right? Or a big pillar of some kind. They're all pink for some reason. I guess Kirby pink. That's why. But,
one looks like the Tanuki suit Mario.
Okay,
statue.
that was really cool. Yep. Good call. Good recall. Yeah. So there's a lot of really, really fun ones that come down. So that's the boulder, and that one kind of sucks because I don't think it really gives you a chance to attack, or it doesn't do any damage to him either. No. Really, like the other two hurt him when they get him in a more seemingly significant way. But the fireball causes the top of his head to burst into flames, and he's stunned for a second. So that gives you an opportunity to just, you want to shoot his mouth, like run below in the middle, then shoot up at his mouth, which you can do at any time. But if sucking air, you're fucked.
Spot. Yeah,
right, exactly. So you want to wait till he's stunned to be doing that. And so yeah, you can get some fucking shots in on him, and then after that stun moment, he will spit the fireballs back out, and those kind of rain down all over the screen. They're easy to avoid. I think they cast shadows that you can easily see coming, so they're super easy to avoid. Yeah. And then the ice ball, the last one, creates when it goes into his mouth, you get the same stun and can shoot up at his mouth. And then out of his mouth comes this homing missile deal. And this will freeze you if it hits you, and like it freezes you in a block of ice that you're going to get stuck in until he does the suck motion, and you're going to get sucked up into his mouth and die for sure. And then even if it doesn't hit you, I think you can shoot it to cause this, but it turns into like this ice burst that stays persistent on the screen for a while. And if you jump into that accidentally trying to avoid shit or do whatever, I think that also kills you. So this is probably the most devastating one. But it does give you, while the homing missile is flying around, it gives you more opportunity to shoot the mouth too. So kind of a give and take there as far as how much offensive opportunity you have, as long as you're avoiding the goddamn missile while you do it. So yeah, that is pretty nice. And then I'm not sure what the cause. Were you able to discern what the cause was for the power ups coming out of them? I don't know what cause. I think that was just random, right? I
feel like it was just random. Yeah, like here's a let me throw you a little something.
Throw you a bone
one time
right?
through.
Yeah. It would be anyone. I think. Did I ever see the lemming gun there? I don't know. You definitely get fire, machine gun, and spread. Yeah, but I can't remember if you get lemming too. Either way, you get power-ups. Those are, of course, nice to have, although you're dying quite a bit.
If you can keep them.
Exactly, yeah, you're dying quite a bit here, so it's tough to keep them. But that's why, it happens multiple times. Like even a battle going well, you're going to see 2 or 3 opportunities of that. So they expect you to die a lot in this fight, I think, given that.
Which is good. And good that they give you the 30 lives. They're like, it's all planned out.
Yep. All feels good. When you finish him off, he spews a river of green vomit in which so many random NES sprites come flying out. I mean, just a fucking million of them. There's warts.
Did you eat everything, Kirby?
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah, that's exactly. That's probably. And he did, actually, when we get to where this gets to. But we see Wart come out of there. I saw Fester come out of there. I saw Airman from Mega Man 2. I saw an RC Pro-Am car at one point. There's just like way too many to list. A ton of shit.
Yeah.
Once he empties out, though, once all that shit's left him and the green goo has stopped, he shrinks back to normal size, and then he falls to the ground, and then, like, he starts to, like, it looks like something's trying to get out of him, like something's poking his skin and, like, pokes out a little bit, and then he explodes into a bloody mess right there in front of Abobo, and when he does that, it reveals Doc from Punch-Out, dazed and covered in slime. So he smiles, and a cutscene begins. Where do I begin? Like that again, I do nothing about what's going to happen in this game, dude. And when it's Doc here, and like I don't even know it's the end of the game yet, so part of this is a little bit of forecasting, but like This is at the start of the end game run, right? And like I see Doc, and I'm like, oh my god, yes, we're gonna give all the fucking tribute to Mike Tyson's Punch-Out you possibly can. Yes, that's great. So it's Doc in here, right? And it cuts to the cutscene, and like in a Bobo fashion, he's immediately trying to smash fucking Doc's face in, and Doc's able to get him to fucking slow his roll and listen to his story, and he explains that he knows who has a Boboy, and that it's Little Mac, who, after Doc's training and winning the title, he's let that go to his head. Little Mac has, and a thought bubble comes from Doc showing Little Mac knocking the shit out of Luigi at one point, and then one of the Battletoads, and like in all those cases, Doc is like looking on in horror with his hands on his head as he's watching Little Mac go to the bad side, the dark side. And the last image in this little sequence of things in his thought bubble is Mac holding it tied up a Boboy up in the air, and then Doc explains he's kidnapped him to, and I quote, prove to the world of the NES that nobody can stop him. So Abobo starts steaming, and Doc explains that the only hope for defeating Mac is for Abobo to let him train him, for Doc to train Abobo. So he extends his hand, and Abobo ponders a second, and then accepts in an 80s action movie ECU of their hands locking. You know, that like, whoa, you know, like fucking, usually you see some muscles too, you know, like fucking just like a very 80s cinema trope. And then, yes, as you would fucking obviously expect to right immediately after that, we cut to the jogging scene. And here, Abobo jogs along. I don't even know if he's jogging. He's kind of just like walking at an accelerated pace. He's not even jogging as far as the animation goes. And he's holding a scared Doc on his bike with one arm up in the air. You know, like Doc's eyes like looking back at him. You know, he's facing away from the direction they're going, and Doc's eye is looking back towards Abobo holding him. So that whole thing plays out. The fucking music track plays out. You want to hear there. You're going right in front of the city. It stops at the Statue of Liberty. And instead of a password in the black box that would come up, the text reads, Abobo so crazy. And it's like fucking hyphenated. So just beautiful. Beautiful storytelling. So unexpected. And then I'm watching that. And again, I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know what your level of surprise / elation was. But the next thing you see is the blue title fight screen from Punch-Out scrolls up, along with the crowd noise that you get in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. And the text on the fucking thing reads, in like the yellow-white flashing, it reads, Final Boss! Exclamation. And like when that happened, I was like, I just had to put my head down. Just like, oh my God, yes. The final boss is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and you know where I would fall on how great that is and how much I would want. If you asked me at the top of this experience, what do I want it to climax at? I want it to climax at fucking Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. And it answered all my fucking prayers, dude. It is everything at every step of the way that I wanted it to be. And this being the climax was just so beautiful to me, dude. It was so fucking perfect. And I saw that, dude. I saw that card. And I don't think we've ever asked the question on this podcast. Why are they called bosses, Jay? Why do you think they're called bosses?
Because they'll own you. I don't know. I have no idea. They'll own your shit.
Exactly. Every kid in the history of video games has just accepted that. And it is baseline video game vernacular that has existed since seemingly the beginning of time. That's not how things work. Things incite somewhere. There's a big bang somewhere. Something happens that creates it. I don't know where it
came from, but that's just what it is. It is what it is, Josh.
There are theories. And the best theory I found was Michael Fahey of Kotaku, which I assume is some well-known video game periodical based on the way it was presented. Not familiar with it. Clearly Japanese. But he was quoted in there as saying that the usage of the term boss by Nintendo Power grew sharply around 1988. So, I mean, that's the beginning of Nintendo Power. But that's even to suggest that it wasn't necessarily in the Nintendo Foot Club news issues that were more 86, 87. So it's a Nintendo Power, if not from their team, at least from the zeitgeist of that particular time and place. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that he has never been able to find a single clear etymology of the term. So it's not a definitive statement, but in all his research, that's as far as he could trace it back. So that was kind of interesting.
That's fair.
And then the also same periodical Kotaku, the editor-in-chief from that, Stephen Totillo is his name. He has speculated that bosses became known as such because they were in charge of all the enemies. And some of the other stuff
that was the first thing I thought too. Like, yeah, like if you had a bunch of henchmen, like somebody's in charge of them. Somebody's
the boss, right?
You know? That's
the boss. Yeah. So just funny little thing that like I don't know why I thought of it there, just because I guess we're thinking about like such a macro look at everything we've been through with as far as the podcast timeline goes and what this game represents and yada yada yada. Like to have it be there, it's like one of the most chief. All those things I've talked about like the vibe of what all this means and is like the term final boss is one of the central emotional cornerstones of all that. I think, so seeing it here in this context, I asked myself that question. I was like, how have we never talked about that or thought to ask that question in all that we've done for this pod, So
that's interesting that you went there. I didn't think any of that. I just went to oh my gosh, like, is this going to be like Mike Tyson level hard?
Right.
Like, what am
Is
I
this going
about
to be Mike
get
Tyson,
into right
but
now?
ratchet it up? Yeah, was my first thought. Like,
I was kind
holy
of terrified.
shit, yeah.
That was my first feeling. It was not elation. It was like fear. Like, oh my gosh, what is about to happen?
Not me. I was ready for the challenge. I finally beat Mike Tyson, and I'm ready for all comers now.
Feel like
had that
sounds like a
experience-
little Macish there, Josh. Be careful. Be careful.
Yeah, watch your P's and Q's. There are also instructions here, much like pro wrestling, because there is some, very specific functionality that you'll need to know and understand. They explain that the spin jab is just pressing either button without any directional stuff. Down and a button does a hook, and then up and a button is a uppercut. And, talking about the difficulty of this, which there's a lot of, internalizing these, and then, honestly, I don't think that's enough. I don't think without Doc's in between round tip of the stun functionality, this is possible, personally, in my opinion.
Wait, I don't understand.
The look on your face suggests you learn. Yeah,
you say that
the look on your
statement
face. The look on your face suggests that you did not discover this, and that
No, I did not.
crushes.
I did not make it past the second round. I won it in the first round, TKO.
The first time.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Get the fuck out of here.
100. I promise. I promised. Like,
That
well, no, I
is-
take that back. No, I take that back. The first time I came in, I got TKO'd in the first round. Like, I knocked him down, but he TKO'd me.
Okay.
So then I came back, started again, and then I TKO'd him. So I never made it to the second round.
So did he TKO'd you after you saw him become big that first time? So you got
Yeah.
to see that? Okay.
He jacked me.
It's kind of believable because that is your best opportunity. The first round is your best opportunity because you're obviously going to fight him twice or knock him down twice as Little Mac before he'll turn into Big Mac when he gets harder. So it's, while hard to believe, it is possible in that regard because you only got to luck into knocking him down the one time as Big Mac for that to happen, and I guess I can see that.
Yeah, because once it's like, I don't know about you, but for me, I just came in and I was like, all right, I only have these jabs. At first time, I was just swinging it up, thinking like maybe I can just like spam him down, just mixing stuff up. But clearly, he just like knocked my ass out 3 times and I was done. So then I was like, wait a minute, I can only uppercut him when he's tired, or I should just spin, jab, and hook. You know what I started switching up, and then I learned the patterns, and then I was able to take him out.
See, the patterns I was never able to get really down. I got better as I played it. I mean, the first
And the
time I
timing,
played it,
clearly, the timing
Yeah.
of avoiding his.
because he has all that. That's what I'm talking about. The hesitation stuff is very Mike Tyson-y in that like he does that. He waits.
You might have to hesitate twice to get.
And every time I'm doing it like 2 or 3 times, and then always coming back to get fucking clocked, So yeah, that is here in spades for sure, man. So yeah, so and it's weird because I had early success too, come to think of it, but I didn't get it done. And once I got into like the rut of failure, it got really bad for like, dude, I like 45 minutes of just like ram my head against the wall.
Wow.
Just not getting. And then so like, I'm reading the fucking, I'm obviously going through all 3 rounds in a lot of cases. I finished the fight a number of times and lost by decision,
What?
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, I had a lot of difficulty in it. You watch the in between round things and a lot of it's just shit talky, fun comedy
Like you expect.
stuff, like you'd expect. But also, Doc drops some tips. One of them is he's reminding you to stun with the jab before you lay into him with other punches. And like, I had saw that after I didn't know it at first. And like, like I said, I may have been doing it a little bit in the beginning, just instinctually. But that's the thing though. It's not like that's not really a thing in the original in the game.
But it's
you don't stun and then do combos. You like. Each boxer has its own thing you got to do, and it's never like yes, you stun them and get more in, but it's not just like, oh, do a jab and then that becomes an opportunity. It's you have to do something specific that counteracts their tell/attack.
Yeah.
It's always a reactionary thing. Here, you don't have that. You are reacting to him. You got to let him punch first to have the opportunity to jab, but it's not the same. Just honestly, and we haven't mentioned it yet, but the biggest reason it's not the same is because the whole game is reversed. You are now the top sprite, and you are 10 times the size of him, at least to start, and Little Mac is on the bottom. So you're fighting a completely different direction, which might not sound like a big difference, but it is massive. It is a massive feel change,
But you have like the boss feel, like you're like one of the bosses
right,
fighting.
sure,
out,
and
so
that's cool.
different.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's different,
Oh,
and it also, for me, anyways, led to a. Again, it's getting back to you're losing the pattern movement thing that you have for this game. It's no longer, it's a whole different. You're playing a new game, so you're starting anew. And that's different than just replaying Contra for the 80 billionth time.
That's what I liked about it, because you could like.
Me too. I liked
see,
it. None of this
like,
is criticism. It's just observations, not critiques.
I could easily see when Little Mac would take his swings and I would dodge. All I have to do is just I could get in a couple quick jabs, and that would make him tired, or I guess as you're saying now, stunned.
It only takes one.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
just you land one jab, he stuns every time. So once you know that, it's cake.
And then I would immediately do, all right, let me hook him a couple times. Let me get an uppercut in. So then once I knew when that would happen, I would start laying in with uppercuts when he was pink. Like when he turned back black, I would never even try it again.
Yeah.
But then like uppercuts. So
but yeah, same for me. Before I learned that stun thing, yeah, I was like trying uppercuts all the time and shit.
No, because he was dodging him. So I was like, I can't do even attempt it until he's like slumped over. Yeah.
Every now and again, you could get a hook in to keep you fucking guessing that it's not totally impossible, I guess. That's why maybe I stuck with it for so long. But, I had a lot of fucking trouble, man. A lot of trouble. Fun thing, but fucking rolling back a little bit. So, you come out of that final boss title card thing and you get into the matchup screen before the fight starts. We have super subtle thing, but I clocked it. The matchup card has Mac at age 18 now instead of 17. So some time has passed, which is again, just like a level of detail, dude. Just like, oh my God, man. Like, it's just so good. So that's there. He's now 99-0 with 99 KOs is Little Mac's record.
Wow.
And then Abobo on the other side is 9,999-0 with all KOs as well. So they are establishing that you were the boss here, theoretically, which is an interesting dynamic. And then for kind of a King Hippo-esque, or maybe is that Bald Bull? No, Bald Bull's from Istanbul. I think it is King Hippo. But they have question marks for some of his stuff. You don't know where he's from or what his age is in Abobo's case. They do know his weight is 325 pounds, though.
Nice.
So cutting to the ring, yes, you have him up top there, and then you're fighting down instead of up, and then you got a box, man. And yeah, he's fast as fuck. Like he's got, I guess Little Mac's got, I think 3. He's got one, just a quick oneer that has he has a little pink flash before. He's got another one that's like an intermediary between that and the biggest punch he does. That's kind of like a 3 thing that comes after just one little pink flash, and it's a burst of 3 punches. And then the last one is I think it's 5 or something, and he stays pink for a second, and you get that little sound cue. But yeah, I mean it's too varied, dude, and I just could not get timing to avoid because I mean it would be great. It sucks, but it would be great to be able to build rage in this, because the rage attacks are awesome, man. They fucking you. I think I saw 3 of them. I saw a Piston Honda one. And for each one of these, too, he does a little costume change, too. Like Piston Honda, he straps on the bandana, the white bandana, and he steps back and he does the fucking piston punch. And I think it's an automatic knockdown. Maybe not, but you certainly do a lot of damage either way. And there's that one I saw. I saw a Don Flamenco, where he does the dance, or the rose, and then he fucking does the big roundhouse uppercut deal. And then I'm pretty sure I saw the Great Tiger too in this, this.
Yeah, I did a Great Tiger one.
Okay,
sure.
The spin punch.
I did that one, yeah.
So those 3 for sure. I can't remember any more, but I hope there are more. I guess is what I would say, because those are super fun, of course, to enact. And yeah, man, you're kind of you're modeled after Bald Bull in a lot of your behaviors. Mm-hmm. Your spin jab is very much that Bald Bull. He spins his fucking fists on each other and delivers it. Yeah. And his hook is kind of that same, it goes down a little bit and he kind of arches his body. And then when you knock Mac down, that little hunch laughter thing he does is fucking Bald Bull and a half Selly as well. So when they were putting this sprite work together, they're very much using the assets from Bald Bull. So yeah, it's fucking took me so many fucking times, man. But damn. You get so in the first, Actually, it doesn't even have to be in the first round. It's whenever you knock him down twice. And like I got to the point in that rut of shit going poorly where I wasn't knocking him down twice in the first round. And now we get to the fucking second and third round with him still not even transformed yet. So it was like, yeah, I could feel it getting worse as I was going. It was such a bad feeling for sure. To feel yourself like getting worse seemingly and like making less progress each time you fucking redo it. Which, by the way, you did have it happen once. It goes to that, do you want to retire screen when you fail, the red thing, and it's like, it says that, and then it's like, no, you're forced to continue. It forces you to continue, as opposed to even having the option. It doesn't ever like get to like, no, you have to retire, which is fun and cool. But yeah, I saw that plenty of times for sure, and all those failures. And yeah, so you want to knock him down twice, hopefully in the first round. And when he comes up from the second knockdown, he immediately, you can't do anything. You can't even avoid it. He hits you in the stomach. You do that, again, the bald bull animation of when you knock him down on the bull punch, and he like sucks his fucking gut in and his face goes weird. And you just sit there frozen like that while he steps to the left and he starts punching up in the air to make a question block appear, a la Super Mario Bros. 1. And out of this comes a whole bunch of just random shit. There's the Mega Man energy canister, a Dr. Mario pill, a Legend of Zelda bomb, a pack of Metroid missiles, and then lastly, a super mushroom that he hops back over in front of you and waits for. He doesn't even pick it up. It like moves over and moves along the mat to him. And when this hits him, he turns into this big steroid muscle-bound hulking dude that's bigger than a Bobo even, so you can't even see your own sprite, really, most of the time. And he, like, punches his arm out, and it says Big Mac in big green letters above him, So they really drive that home that he's a whole different deal. And, yeah, man, his attack set changes completely. He's got, like, that fucking hook that, like, fucking turns your head into flames. He's got that thing he does that's kind of like, it's reminding me of something, but I don't know what it is. But he like does that. He like puts his arms out, and then a punch thing appears and comes like a big green glove appears and flies up at you. He doesn't even throw it. It just like appears. It's like
the wired arcade version of Punch Out, where it was just like the big gloves that like came on the screen. That's what it like elicits to me. It's just kind of like their original.
But his pose though, it's like what game is that? Actually, I think what I'm thinking of is Doom. Those fucking things that do that same pose where they stick their arms out and it like creates, they turn into flames, and then it like fly, like you take damage when they do that. Is kind of what I'm thinking of. I think either way does that, and there's another one too, some other kind of punch, all of which fast as fuck, and there's all that hesitation stuff for them. It sucks dealing with him for sure, man. And like all of it kind of comes down to, I think, knowing the stunning thing. And knowing that it's not about, like, as long as you're doing the stunning, it's cake. And you don't need to even worry about dodging him each time, really. Because the stunning, if you uppercut him as much as you can in each stun, you're taking, like, a third to a half of his life. Yeah. So it's pretty easy to get him down, even if you're getting tagged every second or third time, as long as you can dodge one every 3 to 4, you're fine, I think, and even if you go down, you're not really getting KO'd. You can get up for 2 knockdowns. I don't think I ever went down as a KO, so I think you have plenty of forgiveness, again, as long as you know you're trying to fucking stun him here. So very difficult, but every bit as epic as it should be. And you can also, I guess, since you didn't do enough in-round stuff, and you didn't even know it for the original game, so I wouldn't expect you to do it here. You can hold the button in between rounds to get some life back coming out of the round, which is a super nice secret touch, harking back to the original game. And I don't think we didn't say it yet, but I don't think you can get him down on a KO either. He always gets up before the 10 count, so you got to TKO him. And when you do knock him down for that TKO, Mario comes out and his bubble reads 3 question marks, and he looks shocked before Mac gets back up. And when he does that, all his power-ups fly off of him and explode at his feet at the mat, all the things he got out of the question block. And then he shrinks back down to Little Mac size. And Abobo starts laughing, and he steps back, and he raises his fist in the air, And we cut to a close-up of it before we get one of those like 80s wireframe movie effects, like from fucking, I think, A Running Man, but it's in a lot of movies. I talk about it all the time that I love it. But like that wireframe look on it. I actually just recently watched Escape from New York, and there's a lot of that shit in there too, with Kurt Russell. But you get that on his arm, and it's because the Power Glove appears along with some text that reads, "It's so bad." And yes, Lorik disciples, this is the one time I will permit an exception to the Schmauer Dove bylaws here on the Imperial Scrolls of Honor podcast. I said it here, our 100th episode. It will never be said. It shan't be ever said again. That was the last time. So back to the action from that cut thing, or that cut image, and he steps back even further. And he winds up to do the full-on bald bull charge punch thing with said Schmauer Dove. And it makes you hit the buttons. It doesn't just do it automatically. It makes you, you have to do the action. So you hit both buttons together, so you feel empowered. And he executes it just as epically as you would hope. When he gets to him and he makes contact, or even before he makes contact, we cut to the cinematic stuff, and it does that thing again, very 80s movie trope, where it jumps back a second, or it's in slow motion and it jumps back, rewinds in time to show you the same thing from different angles, and a bunch of them, and it rips his head clean off when it makes contact, and it says real big Power Glove across the fucking. Across the thing as he's doing it, and his head it shows the striations of the head separating from his neck slowly, so it flies off his fucking head up and away, and then it cuts to Doc telling Mac as he watches the head fly over top of you. You can't see the head, but you see his eyes following it, as it goes, and then Doc says, he tells Mac to join the Nintendo Fun Club today as his head's flying over, it's good, dude.
Funny.
It's good comedy. It's good Nintendo comedy for sure. And so then the head flies off, and we cut to...
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So good.
I forgot about this part.
Yes. It's flying through all these scenes from iconic NES games, right? So it starts with Ghosts and Goblins. It's in the opening graveyard, and the head... It's got the... whatever, I can't remember, Sir Lancelot, or whatever the fuck his name is, and it's got him down below, and there's a red devil up in the sky above him, which is, of course, the most fucking hated enemy from Ghosts and Goblins, and the head flies through and just eviscerates the fucking red dragon, and the little knight fucker jumps up on a headstone, and he throws his arms up in celebration, and his armor flies off, so it leaves him in his skivvies, which is just, that's peak Ghosts and Goblins comedy. And then it takes out a dude in Karate Champ, which is a game I never really played. So some stuff happens there.
It was tough.
I
definitely didn't get that far, but it was a tough game.
Okay, yeah. So it was the most boring one. It just took the guy out, and the guy celebrated. So I assumed again there was some you have to play the game to know the joke here situation. They all are kind of like that. Then it goes to Metroid, where we see the victory screen up to Samus, and they somehow exhibited enough self-constraint to put Samus in a full bodysuit instead of the bikini shot that they could have went with here, and is infamous in Nintendo lore. And it destroys next a car on an OC Pro-Am track. Next, it's just the car's going around and turning, it's just fucking crushes it. And then it flies through a Tetris board and knocks off a perfectly set up Tetris about to happen. There's it's 8 rows of perfectly just the one column empty along the wall
with the one piece ready to go in.
Yeah, you have to have played. You just have to have been through it to know the feeling of what that looks like. And it knocks it off course and fucks it up. And it would just be if you did that, it's like when you fuck it up yourself in a Tetris game. You're like, oh god, it's just such a painful thing. So they capture that little oh shit moment, and then we go from that to Tecmo Bowl. And the fucking Raiders are kicking a field goal against the Patriots here, and the music's playing, and it's so fucking good. It's the original Tecmo Bowl too.
Wait a minute, but this says the field says SEA, so this is Seattle. One of these teams is Seattle.
Oh, is that Seattle? Not okay. Patriots in Seattle at the time, I guess maybe they didn't have the color palette for Seattle. I was actually thinking to myself,
it was because Seattle. It looked
there's only 14 teams back then in the original Tecmo, and I'm like, how did the Patriots make it, but not the Bills? It's honestly a thought I had, because the Patriots were dog shit. Although the Patriots were in the 85 Super Bowl, so it could have been like right before they got super shitty for a long time there. So I wasn't entirely sure, but I was a little, I thought I had an upset moment to myself of like, why were the Patriots in that game and not the Bills, definitely. So if it's Seattle, that makes me feel better to hear that. Yeah. But either way, they're kicking a field goal against them, and like as the kicker's running up, the head is flying over, and it flies through the uprights as a field goal when the football would, you know, which is a super fun little moment. And then the next one is Wizards and Warriors, and Kurus is up on the treetops in the forest level at the beginning, and it hits him and knocks him all the way down, falls to his death all the way at the bottom of the forest floor. I was sad though. This is my one gripe about this, and you weren't here for Wizards and Warriors, but the little death animation for Wizards and Warriors, his leg does this dangle thing after he dies. Oh, really? Like his leg swings on his dead body, even when he's on something where it wouldn't have room to swing. And I was pissed off they didn't have that here, because that's such a cute little fun thing to me that I remember from that game. So one little shortcoming in all of this fucking video game that they overlooked as far as, you know, honoring the original IPs. The next one for that is Simon getting knocked into water over a river in Simon's Quest. That's of course annoying because it's a one-hit death. And then Lizzie, the next one is Rampage, which it's another thing I'm like, yeah. I have all this love for Rampage, but I don't think of Rampage as like this classic game, you know? I don't think of it as universally recognized as being a stalwart NES thing. So I was happy and pleased that was here. And yes, it's like Lizzie's on a building and the head flies in right along on her level, and she reaches over and grabs it as it's flying and sticks it in her mouth and eats it. And then she spits it out and it bounces off the pavement and into the next scene. And then she falls down into the river with her hand sticking up out of it, which is all the trimmings for Rampage stuff. And then the last one is it impales on the end of an end-level flagpole in Super Mario Bros. 1, and the fucking flag goes down, cue the fireworks above the fucking castle like you got, like it stopped on a 6 on the timer. It just does all the fucking things. And then it cuts back to Abobo celebrating over Mac's corpse in the ring. And Abobo comes down from above. They take in the admiration and cheers from the crowd together in the ring. And then... yeah, it's before the Abed thing, but I forget what cues it now, and I didn't write it down, but they decide to just kill everyone. They decide to just jump down out of the ring and just start, like, it shows all the people in the crowd are like, you know, Zelda.
Like cheering and stuff.
Yeah, Mario and like Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden, like all those people are there, and Abobo, after taking in their admiration for a while, and Abobo, they decide to just jump down and kill everyone. And you see just like, it's kind of that red scene again from that image I had in the opening, their key art of like just the bodies flying all around, the silhouettes of the bodies flying all around, and fucking blood flying everywhere and shit before we finish out here, which is pretty fun. And then it cuts to, and this is such, again, just a beautiful end note touch. They cut to Abobo in bed, and it's harking to Super Mario Bros. 2, where this has all been a dream. And it's like, it's the same pixel art, but it does have Abobo's face, not Mario's, which is a nice touch. And the little thought bubble above him is like what we last saw in the ring. And then the credits start rolling on the left-hand side, and it goes through all that shit, which is, you know, super fun. And they show all these wireframe white characters from the game. And some of them are in the game, but there's also all these characters that are just random IP things from the era, like movies and stuff. Like Doc Brown's in there, Skeletor's in there, Clark W. Griswold from Vacation is in there. Fucking all these things that have nothing to do with any video game stuff. They're just shit that, again, if you lived through that era, you know and love and have a nostalgic affinity for. So a beautiful, beautiful ending. And there's like a little letter at the end too where they thank everyone, and they talk about how long of a process it was and how much they appreciate everyone supporting them while it took them forever to do this, and yada yada yada. And they close it out with a Goonies quote, and I didn't write it down. You're a Goonies fan, aren't you?
Yeah, of course. Do
you remember what it is? I don't remember what it is. I'm not a Goonies fan.
I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, it's Goonies live forever or some shit. Like Goonies never die or something like that. Some shit like that.
Oh, Goonies never die.
Yeah, that's a quote from the movie that is like the last text that they ended on. And yeah, just all so beautiful.
select screen theme from Mega Man 2, bringing us into the verdict. Maybe the most least obvious, least shocking.
Yeah, least shocking for sure. Yeah, I don't know if we said this yet. Maybe we did. Been talking for a while here. When I first started diddling with it, I was planning on, I'd never played it. So I just wanted to, fuck with it a little bit and just get my feet wet, get a feel for it. And then, I would start over and start taking notes the way I normally do. Even when I play a game I've never played before, I don't, I usually don't play a game I've never played before all the way through and then start playing it for the podcast in quotations. And I couldn't stop playing it. I couldn't stop. I couldn't go back. I wanted to see what was next way too bad. I didn't want to have to stop. I was having too much fun. Yeah. I didn't want to have to stop and write shit down. I didn't want to have to think about anything. I just wanted to have this magnificent experience wash over me as I experienced it for the first time the way they wanted it to be experienced. And I did all my note-taking bullshit on a replay that I was doing up until the moment we started podcasting. And it's the most creative, fun thing I've ever fucked with. I mean, yes, it's fucking brilliant. It's fucking brilliant. And, I am super touchy about, rehash, regurgitate. I'm super touchy about that shit. And it's all done beautifully perfect. It's just fucking amazing. Whatever you want to fucking think to drag out of me for second place as far as, what the order of things that you could play in this world that we did this podcast in, it's not even close to this. Whatever the best games, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out even, not even fucking close. This is a near perfect experience, dude. And, like I said earlier, I never said it in full, I don't think, but if you try to tell me that this is NES architecture underneath the hood because it's a flash game or whatever, I'll tell you, yes, that is way more impressive to me then, because they emulated it so truthfully outside of that I couldn't tell. And that seems to me like an incredible accomplishment, man. Fucking incredible. The three things I said, and one of them is the same thing in two levels, Contra Mega Man. Three little goofy things, and then the one bitch I have about Kurtos' leg not swinging in the end titles credits. That's the sweet thing of four things I have to say bad about the entire thing. It is perfect. It's a fucking perfect experience. It's a fucking crime that they are not living in mansions in Malibu for having made this. They should be set for life for achieving what they achieved here. And, yes, God forbid if you fucking play it and you finish it and you feel anywhere near close to what we do, please throw them a couple bucks because they fucking deserve it. But, so fucking. King Lorik is backing the fucking treasury truck up to their money bin as we speak to bless the fuck out of this. He is also dropping a super fun mashup vid of all my boss battles in the first 100 episodes, or at least the ones that I started recording my video from whenever that happened. That is a thank you to all the disciples that have been riding shotgun for this little potting endeavor to date. So that's a super fun fucking video that I'm really shocked at how funny I found it watching myself. I'm always, either really pissed or really happy.
Always so extremes.
It's a really fun mashup of emotional oscillation that I was surprised panned out in the edit as well as it did. So that's a fun little thing I'll drop here along with the marketing shit. Yeah. So, what do you think, Jay?
I wonder after all of that. Of course. Are you kidding me? I immediately started thinking is our Super Nintendo one? What if we did this on the Genesis? What other options are there for this exact same thing?
How can I get more? Right,
exactly.
Yeah, the best possible thing that you want someone to have a response to as far as your creative work goes is just, I need more of this. Please put it in my head.
Do the same thing that you just did, just over here too.
Yep. Yeah, I agree, man. I agree.
Of course.
Yes. All too good. All right, man. Well, yeah, I don't mind that being abridged because how could you debate it? What is there to debate?
There's no debate. It is quality. It's awesome. It's a Bobo too. Come on, he's everywhere. He would pop up in every Double Dragon 1, 2, 3. A Bobo's still showing up. Later editions, he's there.
Yeah, it's the perfect Even that's perfect. Yeah, I guess we haven't said that in all these fucking stammerings we've done here, but like, it's the perfect protagonist choice.
Right?
It's like, it's the perfect, universally recognizable, but obscure-ish enough combination to choose for this kind of thing, you know? Like, it could have so easily been one of the iconic protagonists, and no one would have batted an eye, you know?
Right.
But that's what I mean when I say, like, it's the perfect nod to all this stuff. Like, there's nothing where they just took the easy way out. There's nothing everything is like, there's thought behind it. They took time to do the complex thing. You know, the image behind you, like, yes, Ultimate Warrior, yes, Hulk Hogan, Undertaker, maybe he's a fan favorite for sure, but Roddy Piper also a fan favorite. But like you said, we didn't even know his
popular. Like he was popular. Well, like when I was like younger, like early '80s, like late '80s.
He's not the easiest choice for this, you know.
No,
so they took their time to do little plucks from things that just they didn't have to spend the time to do to make this great. And you know, that little extra mile, when that gets put into creative works, is when you get this kind of earth-shattering experience. And they just fucking crushed
so good.
They just fucking right. And I am so glad that we chose it for. Like, it was such a perfect choice for what 100 episodes. It just was so perfect. I'm so glad we did it. It's so on brand for what this should be, and is very cool. And I'm glad we got to fucking share this in the way that we did. And also, I would say, like, as the 100th episode goes, I'm not one to outpour emotional fucking things, but like, this shit is seriously fun to do. I think I'm speaking for both of us, and you know, feel free to interrupt me and change or reiterate however, but like, this shit is really fun to do, and the fact that people listen to it and badger with us about it to the degree they do on the socials blows my fucking mind to no end to date. 6 years of doing this shit now, and anyone out there that's actually doing that with us, thank you for doing it, because it makes playing cool shit like this and finding cool shit like this and figuring out the cool shit about it that we do in a public forum truly enjoyable, that other people want to consume it and share it with us. And that's really cool. So thank all of you for that. And hopefully we don't die or anything before we can get another 100 in.
Agreed.
So next up, we will get back on our fucking regularly scheduled programming here, and we will pick up where we left off with episode 99, which was a game app selection of Gauntlet 2 on the NES.
Whew.
And we're going to get some 4-player action, couch co-op stuff, and we're going to figure out how to orchestrate picking the Lord Disciple. Hopefully, anyways, we can work that out to play that with here in the coming weeks, and then we will plow back into Nintendo Power stuff with issue 22. You can subscribe to the pod on the platform provided by whatever dumbass company that serves up your pottery. If you do that, please rate and leave positive shit for the pod on that podcast platform of choice, or any other for that matter. The website is nyehentertainment.com/ISOHpod. Email us at isohpodcast@gmail.com directly if you want to offer up your game playing services as the fourth player in a Gauntlet play, perhaps, as one mode of doing it, before I think of some other cool, more fun ways to do it, perhaps on the socials. And speaking of socials, you can follow the pod on Facebook and or Instagram to get in on those conversations I mentioned that we're having so much fun being part of. The link to the YouTube gameplay videos playlist is in the show notes as well. There's the subreddit if you want to bullshit with us a little bit, but don't want to get yourself involved with any meta products. And we don't have a Patreon, but if you like giving money to podcasters, or two things podcasters tell you to, would like to do so in our direction. The Able Gamers Foundation creates custom gaming rigs for gamers with disabilities. That's cool as fuck for all 100 episodes and more. AbleGamers.org is where you can find them. T-shirts on the website. They're dope. I'm wearing one right now. Proceeds on those after pod expenses go to Able Gamers. Okay. How can people reach you on the internets?
Gentleman JB, that is my gamer tag. That's where you can find me on socials when I do post, but most of the time you can find me on Xbox, which all the places. Let's game.
I am on Twitter at Josh Folan. I am on Instagram at MyShakyIsBroke. That's also my Oculus tag whenever I get my ass back in my headset. Okay, bye.